Check 1 2, check. What up, pamps? Oh shit, 3 for 1 tonight. This one's gonna be a long one. This is the real podcast I wanted to do. I'm trying to get away because I got a few music projects coming up, and so there's just so much information coming out these days, like on a daily basis, so damn quickly, you know? It's just happening so fast. But yes, here we are again. We just did a podcast. I got interrupted by a copyright strike. So that happened, and it got cut in half, but no big deal. This one, it's going to be all about, as the title suggests, manufactured disasters. What does that mean? It means stuff that happens because people made it so, as opposed to it being naturally occurring disasters, you know? So, for example, the hurricane. But I've got a lot of stuff to look through for that. So this is 2 parts, and it's basically cut into how much information I've been downloading by month. So we're going to go through everything I found in September that led up to October. Yeah, we'll just start blasting right through it because it's a lot. The October stuff is going to get real interesting. The hurricane, and a lot of cool radar stuff, that information is coming out. I'm going to need snacks for this one because this is going to be a long one. But yeah, thank you guys for retuning back in. Anyone who was watching previously, shout out Valor God. We'll get right into this bad boy right here. All right, let's see. So,
surely clear to everyone that our country needs a bigger reset, a rediscovery of who we are. Because no matter how fierce the storms of history, one of the great strengths of this nation has always been our ability to navigate a way to calmer waters. And yet this depends upon politicians, particularly those who stand for stability and moderation, as I do, recognizing when we must change course. For too long now, we've turned a blind eye as millions slid into greater insecurity. And it is surely clear to everyone that our country needs a bigger...
So, we'll get warmed up with a clip of the British Prime Minister talking about how they need a bigger reset, right? The focus of this podcast is basically around the idea that the deep state is manufacturing these disasters to install whatever new world order they want to install. And I know that sounds like cliche. It sounds like, oh, that's just like some Alex Jones type stuff. But that's the fucked up part, is that it's actually happening now. You know what I mean? Like, we're actually seeing it unfold before our eyes. People like Alex Jones were right. So it is what it is. So let's go through some of these. Here's Nancy Pelosi. So, it got taken down. Damn. Anyways, yeah, she said the words, we need a new order. That was what the clip was basically about.
You have to choose now between Davos or Westminster.
Davos.
Why?
Because Westminster is too constrained. And, it's closed and we're not having meaning. Once you get out of Westminster, whether it's Davos or anywhere else, you actually engage with people that you can see working with in the future. Westminster is just a tribal shouting place.
Let's just ask you quickly. You have to choose now between Davos or Westminster.
And Davos being, you know, the New World Order or whatever. What is a central bank digital currency? Here's another one of the things that's what's going on in September. The idea that they were going to install this.
Why? What problem is it going to solve?
Look, what's it for? It's to keep track with the reality of how we'll purchase and save and do our work with our goods. This is about being a modern economy that recognises how our citizens, want to.
No, it's about control and being able to monitor every single transaction that you make. Being able to shut down your credit score like they do in China for speaking up against the government or whatever. So instead of getting taken down on like a copyright strike like I did earlier on the live stream, you would be removed entirely. Your social credit will be tied to it. They'll be able to just literally demonetize you in the real world just by hitting a little button. That's what central banking currency systems are. Terrible. But yeah. That's kind of some of the stuff that's been happening. Let's check out. Let's just blast through it.
Of China supervising American elections. As a Chinese immigrant with no U.S. passport is sworn in on San Francisco's Elections Commission, Kelly Wong has become the first non-U.S. citizen ever appointed to such a post.
There are plenty of even non-Republican citizens who could have filled this role. They chose to go in a different direction with a non-citizen.
The woman doesn't even have the right to cast a ballot. Yet, she will be overseeing all public elections in the city.
She wants the taxpayer dime to go to making voter materials in all different languages, Mandarin, Cantonese, you name it, yet she doesn't want people to assimilate.
Before 2020, only citizens could seek office on city boards, commissions, and advisory bodies.
Yeah, they have some non-U.S. citizen police officers in other states as well, which is interesting because then that means that a non-citizen can police a citizen. So, that's weird. How does that work? State Department says Ukraine may be too corrupt to join NATO. World War III is basically popping off right now, man. We'll blast through September so we can get to October and get to all the rockets that we're flying and shit, because that's crazy. But bear with me. We'll get through these posts.
It says starting Monday, you'll be paying 90 cents in taxes on every gallon of gas. 60 cents on that state excise tax, 18 on the federal excise tax, 10 cents on more state and local taxes, and 2 cents for a state underground storage tank fee.
This is just way over government regulation, and now's not the time.
San Diego County Supervisor Jim Desmond has urged the state to hold off on implementing this, saying the state is already too expensive. But Governor Gavin Newsom claims it's not the state's fault. Californians are being gouged by oil companies. Silverman, though, questions that. He wonders if the state's push to have zero-emission vehicles by 2035 is a factor in the prices.
You have to be charging more in order to make up for the possibility that you may not be in business anymore in California.
In neighboring Arizona, the price of gas is $1.23 cheaper than in California. But Arizona...
Yeah, when I drove to Texas, that's something that was just like, yo, it costs a whole lot of money just to get from San Francisco to LA, and then to get from LA to Arizona. It was really expensive compared to like driving through basically all of Texas, which is way bigger, like landmass wise. It was actually way cheaper. So the gas is gonna get worse. Inflation is getting worse. We'll get into all of it.
You are the problem. It is the unvaccinated who are the problem. Period. End of.
Now we'll stay away from the vaccine post. That one shouldn't have been in there. Bye bye. Because we already know about all that. We'll focus on this kind of stuff. The smart city stuff.
The city of the future is smart. It's entirely interconnected, will regulate traffic, save energy, fight crime, assisted by big data and the Internet of Things. Brave new world, or rather a surveillance nightmare. What could smart cities look like, and do we really want to live there? Our topic today on Shift.
Broadband. Thanks to driverless cars, accidents hardly ever happen. And drones and robots deliver goods, even
That's retarded. Have y'all seen the driverless cars getting mobbed up in downtown LA? And even here in SF, they be causing congestions. People be fucking them up, just busting the windows, just tossing those things up. Because they're annoying. They don't work as they're advertised, you know? Can you imagine, like, in LA, they already have these dumb robots, too, and here in the city. Like, these DoorDash robots that are just, like, little fucking boxes rolling down the street. They suck. People, like, fuck them up all the time. Like, it's not really logistical. It's, like, it's weird.
In this future city, salad grows underground at the urban farm. Augmented and virtual reality make processes more efficient. One example is that firefighters on duty can be assisted by the control center. And tech helps to find and correct system errors to prevent damage before it happens.
Sounds fantastic. But in order for these ideas to become reality, technical preconditions are essential. A central role falls to the new mobile communication standard 5G. It's the engine for the Internet of Things and enables interconnected infrastructures on a grand scale. An expert on smart cities is Jonas Böhm. He is a researcher at the Institute for Technology Management at the University of St. Gallen.
Automatic driving restrictions when the air is heavily polluted. Anything is possible in your interconnected smart city.
So, 15-minute cities, super, intricate connection cities or whatever. Really, it's just all about control. Because you're going to have to give up a lot of freedoms for these smart cities, and that's not something I'm willing to do. But that's where they're trying to roll with it. No copyrights here today. Oh shit. The WEF agenda. Oh yeah, let's check that out.
Is critical because this is what convinces people to accept, to legitimize total biometric surveillance.
Ramon says he's seen
we
one
want
driving
to stop this epidemic.
The opposite.
We need not just to monitor people, we need to monitor what's happening under their skin, their body temperature. Like we walked in here, we had to go through a body temperature test. Now they're using it to see whether you have the coronavirus. But exactly the same technology can determine what you think about the government.
What
anger is a biological phenomenon, just like disease. It's not some spiritual thing out there. It's a biological pattern in your body. With this kind of surveillance, you watch the big president, the big leader, gives a speech on television. The television could be monitoring you and knowing whether you're angry or not, just by analyzing the cues, the biological cues coming from your body. Are you angry about what you hear? Are you frightened? Are you bored? This is the kind of power that Stalin didn't have. When Stalin gave a speech, everybody, of course, clapped their hand and smiled. Now, how do you know what they really think about Stalin? It's very difficult. You can't have a KGB
this dude is wildin'.
following everybody all the time. Even if you do it, he's just watching your outside behavior. He doesn't really know what's happening in your mind. But in 10 years, the future Stalins of the 21st century, they could be watching the minds, the brains of all the population all the time. And also they will have the computing power to analyze all that. It's not just having an agent following everybody all the time. The agent in Stalin's days writes a paper report, and you have these millions of paper reports piling up in Moscow. Somebody needs to read them, to analyze them. That's impossible. Now you don't need human agents. You don't need human analyzers. You just have a lot of sensors and an AI which analyzes it, and that's it. You have the worst totalitarian regime in history. And
yo, that dude's wild, and he literally said, if you're watching TV, the TV could be watching you, and we want that. And we need to know what you're thinking. If you're angry at the television, if you're angry what we're showing you, we need to know why you're angry, and we need to identify you as a potential problem. You know, that's wild. I'm sure you guys saw in September, Mexican president, first Jewish woman president ever to become the president of Mexico. A lot of people find that kind of strange. Not because it's anti-Semitic or whatever, just because it's never happened. So it's a weird time for it to happen. Also, Bukele, also president of El Salvador, which is Palestinian in origin. So the opposite of Jewish in a lot of ways. And is now the president of El Salvador, which a lot of people are saying that he's doing a good job. But that's just another weird thing that happened recently. And it just keeps going and going. NATO was announcing that it was going to do war stuff. But now we know we're like basically full-blown like World War III basically at this point. It's really going down now, you know. But we'll get to that in a sec. Who's this dude?
Senator Lindsey Graham this weekend finally told the truth and admitted the real reason we are sending billions of dollars to Ukraine and training and weapons. Listen.
Either we're going to help Ukraine or we're not. It's now time to give them the F-16s, let them fly the planes, long-range artillery to hit targets inside of Russia. They're sitting on $10 to $12 trillion of critical minerals in Ukraine. They could be the richest country in all of Europe. I don't want to give that money and those assets to Putin to share with China. If we help Ukraine now, they can become the best business partner we ever dreamed of. That $10 to $12 trillion of critical mineral assets could be used by Ukraine and the West, not given to Putin and China. This is a very big deal how Ukraine ends. Let's help them win a war we can't afford to lose. Let's find a solution to this war. But they're sitting on a gold mine to give Putin $10 or $12 trillion of critical minerals that he will share with China is ridiculous.
Yo, that's wild. Keep in mind, the whole critical minerals theory that we're working on during this podcast, that'll be like a point that we'll string along through all these links. But basically, if you think about it, the hurricane, you know, Hawaii and a few other places, you know, are being looked at for having mineral deposits and stuff like this, lithium. So let's keep going.
Knows quite a bit about eating bugs. Turns out it's very, very unhealthy. I pulled these right out of the National Library of Medicine 2017 study funded by the government. Said that the chitin in bugs, the exoskeletons, will provoke human innate immunity to generate a deluge of inflammatory cytokines which injure organs and in persistent situations lead to death, multiple sclerosis, systemic lupus, and cancer. Sign me up, right? So the goal, folks, is not to save the planet. It's not to save the climate. Like the revolutionaries used to say back in the 60s, the Students for a Democratic Society. The issue is never the issue. It's not about global warming. It's not about sustainable development. It's about enslaving humanity. They want to...
Trying to get us to eat bugs, y'all. It's wild. Oh, this is a crazy video.
Chinese nationalists operated what?
Yeah, so when you show up to the Iris drop site, which is a public transit center, first of all, it takes a lot to get me feeling uncomfortable. I felt uncomfortable at the Iris Transit Center. So you have thousands of illegal foreigners being bussed in, shuttled in, and then dropped on the street. They hang out, they're military-aged men. NGO operatives come and charge their cell phones, give them water, take them to the Ramada Inn or to the San Diego International Airport. But then there is a large constituency of Chinese men who wait for other unofficial Chinese men who act as a taxi service to come and pick up only Chinese nationals. And because we are a sanctuary state, we have no idea where they are taking them or why there's this collaborative effort. But that's what's happening.
That's not alarming.
That's crazy.
At all.
It says here,
said
95% of Chinese
nationalists.
95% of Chinese illegals are released in California, head somewhere, a secret place. A lot of people are saying they're like in like up north, like rural, like between Sacramento, like Humboldt, like kind of like the Weed Triangle, Mendocino, Grass Valley, like all those areas. They're saying that the Chinese are setting up illegal weed growing operations up there. There's evidence of that. We'll get to that in a sec. They're all over the place. And now Bill Gates is spraying this stuff, Appeal, APEL, is being sprayed on produce. Toxic coating cannot be washed off. Yo, Bill Gates is a straight ghoul. Like, why is he... Fuck that dude, man. Oh, look, here's one illegal farm. This is in Oklahoma. Wow, they made it all the way to Oklahoma now.
Describe what is secretly happening here in Middle America. Illegal weed growing operations. Not run by Americans, but by the Chinese. Oklahoma law enforcement shutting down, on average, 15 of the illegal grow houses every single day. They say the illegal Chinese growers come across the southern U.S.-Mexico border and then travel to Oklahoma to work at the black market grow houses. Larry showed us they're right down the road from his land.
All right, here's one of the Chinese places right here, and they just built this barn in the last 8 months, and the door's open, by the way. Let me stop and blow my horn, see if anybody comes out.
Yeah.
Okay.
I do see a dog.
There's a dog. That tells me somebody's here.
Nope. That's crazy. So illegal weed farms, they got guns. They got money to invest in properties. The Chinese are buying up properties all over the place. They own a big percentage of properties in the United States now. Very interesting stuff.
Protesters being paid? And the answer to that is yes, they are being paid. There's a lot of levels of obfuscation though, and for an investigative reporter it's a real workout because a lot of groups like George Soros's Open Society Foundations and the Rockefeller Brothers Fund are giving donations through something called a fiscal sponsor, which is a nonprofit organization that then disperses funds to other groups. And this is how some of the groups like Students for Justice in Palestine and other groups are getting money. The big funders like the Soros Foundations and the Rockefeller Brothers Foundations are sending money through various different levels of nonprofits, so that when you go back to try to find who is the original donor, you have to do a lot of work. I noticed as well that some of the protests...
I just recently was riding my speaker bike through the hood here in Berkeley when I noticed that these people were having an event. I'll probably do a podcast about local corrupt NGOs in the area. But yeah, it's impossible to figure out where that money came from, where it went, how it was disseminated. The NGOs seem to be the tool that's being used to facilitate the migrant invasion that the Democrats are kind of sponsoring, the DNC in specific. Lyme disease, I thought this story was interesting. Check this out.
Congressman from New Jersey wants the Pentagon to reveal whether it experimented on ticks with the goal of turning them into weapons and whether this led to the spread of Lyme disease in the U.S.
Borrelia burgdorferi, known to millions as Lyme disease, infects more than 300,000 Americans a year. It is spread by infected deer ticks. Not treated, it could lead to neurological damage. Now lawmakers want to know, where did infected ticks come from, and is the Pentagon to blame? Congressman Chris Smith points to a secret Army bioweapons program to weaponize ticks in the 1950s.
Bioweapons specialists stuffed ticks with pathogens that cause severe disability, disease, even death, to potential enemies.
Army labs like Plum Island and Fort Detrick, not far from the largest concentration of Lyme cases, were capable of breeding millions of bugs a month. The link was first outlined by Stanford's Chris Newby, who wrote about it in Bitten, The Secret History of Lyme Disease and Biological Weapons. She interviewed William Bergdorfer, who worked for the U.S. military in the 50s growing microbes inside ticks.
He felt really guilty about what he did. I believe that what he was trying to say is, something bad happened here and I want it out before I die.
Newby has been accused by some scientists like Michael Osterholm of concocting a conspiracy theory.
I believe it, because Lyme disease is only native to the Northeast. So, luckily we don't have it here in California, man. That stuff would be nasty. It's hard to get rid of, too. Check out more of the Chinese military-aged men.
Dana, good morning to you. For the first time since the 1990s, Border Patrol San Diego sector is now seeing the most illegal crossings of anywhere on the southern border. And we were out here during the overnight hours as masses of men from around the world came through here. Take a look at this video. This was 2 a.m. right where I'm standing, right here in Jacumba, California, about an hour east of downtown San Diego, as we watch men from the Middle East and Asia pouring in here very nonchalantly as they cross illegally. Several of them are what are known as special interest aliens. That means they are coming in from countries with potential national security concerns, and they should be subject to additional DHS vetting. We talked to these guys. There was not a single one of them from Mexico. Take a listen to this. Where are you guys from? What country?
Pakistan.
Pakistan.
India.
India. Where are you from?
Turkey.
Turkey?
Yeah.
Turkey. Okay.
India.
India. Where are you guys from?
Turkey.
Turkey. Turkey. Where are you guys from?
China.
China.
Ecuador.
Ecuador. Where are you guys from?
India.
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 India. Sagar Baba.
India. India.
India.
India.
India.
India.
India.
India.
Yes. India.
Hella Indians.
India. Iran.
Iran.
You're all from Iran. Why'd you come?
No freedom.
No freedom?
Yes, in Iran. Iran is a dangerous country. No freedom for us.
That's wild. I got newer clips of that kind of stuff, so stay tuned. I'll pull up new ones. I got a lot of stuff here about mosquitoes and them trying to take down the farms. Bill Gates releasing mosquitoes all over the place to do all types of weird environmental stuff. So there's a lot of that. Check out the Brooklyn area being taken over. I'll pull up more YouTube links instead of Instagram links because those are kind of small, kind of hard to see on the video here for you guys. Let's see. Some of these are still kind of interesting. I still kind of want you guys to see these. Here we go.
Colleague, Dr. Carrie Made, who's been in touch with fertility clinics. They've never seen anything like it. The sperm of inoculated men does not swim. The eggs of inoculated women do not grow into embryos. And those that do have a huge amount of contamination with stuff that's non-organic. What's going on here? We also know that according to the first New England Journal of Medicine study saying that Pfizer was safe and effective, this was in June of 2021. If you look at the raw data, it proves that 80% of the women who get the shot in the first and second trimester, basically 0 to 20 weeks, have an 80% miscarriage rate. Now, the miscarriage rate, just baseline, is 1 in 6. It's now 7 to 8 times that much. Dr. James Thorpe points out that there's a 79% increase.
So you heard it from her yourself. people have been dying at like a crazy amount of rates. I'll get into some of the most latest videos on the birth rate versus the death rate. Japan and is looking really bad right now. Like there's not enough people being born. There's too many fucking old people. You know. Yellowstone National Park. Check this out. Some shit erupted over there last month in September.
Shit. Run.
Replay it. Damn.
Shit. Run.
That's crazy. That's one of the only things that scares me is Yellowstone National Park. Because, damn, if that thing went off, there's nowhere you can go hide on the whole fucking planet. Who's this dude? Must have saved it for a reason. Whatever. Tennessee Republican introduces insane food vaccine legislation. Oh, yeah, I heard about this. They're trying to put vaccines into the actual food. mRNA technology.
Don't understand the underlying need or logic.
If a food source has a human vaccine in it, we would deem that a pharmaceutical in Tennessee to make sure that we don't overdose or underdose that food source.
I mean, how's this going to play out?
House Bill 1894 classifies any food that contains a vaccine or vaccine material as a drug under the Tennessee Food, Drug, and Cosmetic Act. Defines vaccine or vaccine material as a substance intended for use in humans to stimulate the production of antibodies and provide immunity against disease that is authorized or approved by the United States Food and Drug Administration. Mr. Chairman, I'll answer questions.
Can you give me an example of a food that's a vaccine?
You're right. Yes, sir. University of California, Riverside has already perfected the ability to put human vaccines into our lettuce right now. Also, tomatoes has the ability to do that also for UC.
It's crazy. They're going to put vaccines in all the food and shit. What are we going to do now? Oh, the homie Piggy is in Tennessee. Tuning in from Tennessee. What time is it over there? I wonder. Fuck. Oh, here's this crazy lady talking about there is a plan.
Because they assumed he broke protocol and walked in front of the Queen. No, if you go back and look at it, you will see he looked at her. She gave a wave with her hand. He proceeded. She took a couple of steps. He stopped and he waited for her to join. That was an optic to tell us that he then was going to bankrupt the U.S. corporation because
what?
It was the
Yo, how did him misstepping like that turn into he's gonna bankrupt the UK? That's ridiculous. I don't know how that link made it into my links. Delete. Doctrine Chief, Vatican approval of apparitions will now be rare, but one will come out in the next days. Yeah, I saved this because the Vatican City actually did say that. Vatican rulings on allegedly supernatural phenomena, such as Marian apparitions, will continue to be released publicly, but official validation of an event's supernatural status, as has happened at Lourdes, Fatima, and Guadalupe, would be exceptional, the Vatican's doctrine chief said. But they are basically saying that get ready for some supernatural shit that's about to go down, right? Very interesting. Yeah, so there's just a lot of stuff happening in September. I kind of rushed through most of this. September was a crazy time.
Put together the technology that allows the government to transmit thoughts and voices into the heads of Americans.
First question for you. What's negative about what you've done?
I've empowered the dark side by some of my work.
And what do you mean by that?
Technology is neutral. It can be used for good or evil. I've worked on projects for the CIA, Justice Department, Department of Defense.
Is this the stuff, voices in the head and things like that?
Yes.
We've run into a few people that claim they got voices in their heads, they sleep inside tinfoil boxes, they do a lot of crazy things, it seems. But when they talk to us, they seem totally normal. They seem totally sane. Are these people crazy, or is the government doing this to them?
The government's doing this to them.
He's not even bothering to hide it.
They're called voice of God weapons.
So you know for a fact that these weapons that you worked on, they're being used domestically today?
Absolutely. You have to.
Fucking Jesse Ventura, he's a funny ass fool. Back in the day, he had a whole show on TV.
Order. We are enslaved in a society where we will not be free to think or feel or do anything other than consume. Slaves for work.
Now you're telling me that climate change is fake?
I think it would be done, hit the style. The armed forces are going to kill us. They'll follow orders. It's what they've been trained to do. How long before they use this racism to make soldiers turn on their own? Living in a police state.
It's already begun. Controlling and monitoring the movement of individuals within the society. Putting chips in passports, ID cards, CCTV.
They're using this orchestrated ruse to convince the public to accept Big Brother-type control. Mass genocide on a scale never seen before. More staged events, orchestrated and maneuvered conflicts. Vaccines. They could come in vaccines. Women are being encouraged to get sterilized.
Wow.
What if they're using cervical cancer jabs? Eugenics is the pseudoscience culling the excess population.
Fake science.
And using draconian methods, and this global holocaust will probably come out from under the flag of the UN.
13 out of every 14 people killed, destroyed, and murdered.
Destroy your television sets. Now. You must listen to no orders.
That's from a movie in 2013, One by One is the name of that movie. That kind of, I guess the argument in this post is that it accurately predicted some stuff. Here's the KGB director talking about similar stuff.
Before about ideological subversion. That is a phrase that I'm afraid some Americans don't fully understand. When the Soviets used the phrase ideological subversion, what do they mean by it?
Ideological subversion is the slow process which we call either ideological subversion or active measures, активные мероприятия in the language of the KGB, or psychological warfare. What it basically means is to change the perception of reality of every American to such an extent that despite of the abundance of information, no one is able to come to sensible conclusions in the interests of defending themselves, their families, their community, and their country. It's a great brainwashing process which goes very slow, and it's divided in 4 basic stages. The first one being demoralization. It takes from 15 to 20 years to demoralize a nation. Why that many years? Because this is the minimum number of years which requires to educate one generation of students in the country of your enemy, exposed to the ideology of the enemy. In other words, Marxism-Leninism ideology is being pumped into the soft heads of at least 3 generations of American students without being challenged or counterbalanced by the basic values of Americanism, American patriotism. The demoralization process in the United States is basically completed already. For the last 25 years, actually it's overfulfilled because demoralization now reaches such areas where previously not even Comrade Andropov and all his experts would even dream of such a tremendous success. Most of it is done by Americans to Americans, thanks to lack of moral standards. As I mentioned before, exposure to true information does not matter anymore. A person who was demoralized is unable to assess true information. The facts tell nothing to him. Even if I shower him with information, with authentic proof, with documents, with pictures, even if I take him by force to the Soviet Union and show him concentration camp, he will refuse to believe it until he is going to receive a kick in his fat bottom. When a military boot crashes his balls, then he will understand, but not before that. That's the tragic of the situation of demoralization. The next stage is destabilization.
That's pretty funny.
This time, subverter does not care about your ideas and the patterns of your consumption. Whether you eat junk food and get fat and flabby, it doesn't matter anymore. This time, and it takes only from 2 to 5 years to destabilize a nation, what matters is essentials: economy, foreign relations, defense systems. And you can see it quite clearly that in some areas, in such sensitive areas as defense and economy, the influence of Marxist-Leninist ideas in the United States is absolutely fantastic. I could never believe it 14 years ago when I landed in this part of the world that the process will go that fast. The next stage, of course, is crisis. It may take only up to 6 weeks to bring a country to the verge of crisis. You can see it in Central America now. And after crisis, with a violent change of power, structure, and economy, you have so-called the period of normalization. It may last indefinitely. Normalization is a cynical expression borrowed from Soviet propaganda. When the Soviet tanks moved into Czechoslovakia in '68, Comrade Brezhnev said, "Now the situation in brotherly Czechoslovakia is normalized." This is what will happen in the United States if you allow all these schmucks to bring the country to crisis, to promise people all kind of goodies and the paradise on earth, to destabilize your economy, to eliminate the principle of free market competition, and to put a big brother government in Washington, D.C., with benevolent dictators like Walter Mondale, who will promise lots of things, never mind whether the promises are fulfillable or not. Your leftists in United States, all these professors and all these beautiful civil rights defenders, they are instrumental in the process of the subversion only to destabilize the nation. When their job is completed, they are not needed anymore. They know too much. Some of them, when they get disillusioned, when they see that Marxist-Leninists come to power, obviously they get offended. They think that they will come to power. That will never happen, of course. They will be lined up against the wall and shot. But they may turn into the most bitter enemies of Marxist-Leninists when they come to power. And that's what happened in Nicaragua. You remember most of these former Marxist-Leninists were either put to prison or one of them split, and now he's working against Sandinistas. It happened in Grenada when Maurice Bishop was already a Marxist. He was executed by a new Marxist who was more Marxist than this Marxist. Same happened in Afghanistan when first there was Taraki, he was killed by Amin, then Amin was killed by Babrak Karmal with the help of KGB. Same happened in Bangladesh when Mujibur Rahman, very pro-Soviet leftist, was assassinated by his own Marxist-Leninist military comrades. It's the same pattern everywhere. The time bomb is ticking, but every second the disaster.
Very interesting. I never thought about that from the Sandinistas' point of view, that war that we fought down there in Nicaragua. That was an interesting war. But yeah, at some point, the people who followed Marxist ideology turned on Russia, basically. Very interesting. Here's where all the world's gold is.
The gold vaults of the Bank of England store bars worth around £200 billion. They hardly let anyone film them, but the BBC's Frank Gardner was given rare access. He was allowed to go down, although he was closely accompanied by the Bank of England's executive director.
It's incredible to look at, but it doesn't do anything. Why is it so valuable?
Partly because it's rare. It is globally recognised. People want gold, so it creates a market.
Gold reserves, mined from countries all over the world, are held down here for safekeeping. This is the second largest gold vault in the world. It's incredibly rare to be allowed down in here, and the numbers are staggering. There are over 5,000 tons.
The dude's in a
gold
wheelchair.
bars.
They were like, "Oh, he's in a wheelchair. Go ahead and let him in. He can't get out with that much gold." Fuck. But, you know, where is all the gold? You know, people are speculating that there's not even any gold here in our reserves.
This is the scariest video you'll ever watch. You probably won't see or read any of this anywhere else. And as usual, it's all true. I'm going to tell you how they're going to persuade you to kill yourself. And if they don't succeed in getting you to do that, to commit suicide, then I'm going to tell you how they're going to kill you. This is scary. It's taken me weeks to put this together, and I still find it disturbing. It's April 2024, and welcome to video 335, all since March 2020. I said in my last video that I was taking a break, and I meant it. However, something else has come along that I've got to warn you about. Euthanasia, suicide by doctor. Euthanasia is being promoted as offering dignity and control, but in a growing number of countries around the world, the same lies are being told, and everything you think you know about euthanasia is almost certainly wrong. Euthanasia is about saving money, collecting organs for the super rich, killing disabled children, killing the mentally ill, and reducing the money spent on caring for the poor and the disabled and patients in pain. Euthanasia isn't painless. And
yeah, that's a growing concern, is how legal they're making euthanasia. But I'm going to save this topic for another podcast, because I have literally like a whole folder of just euthanasia, as a whole podcast just about that. Yeah, it gets crazier and crazier. There are these Blade Runner dudes that are chopping up the 5G towers. Check this out.
Spider-Man does whatever a Spider-Man does.
They're chopping the ULAZ towers in the UK that give people tickets for not having eco-friendly cars.
Timber! See you fucking later. There you go. Didn't last very long, did it, folks? Didn't last very long at all. See you fucking later. You Les, down on the deck. Have some of that. Boys ain't messing around round here. Boys ain't messing around round here. Yeah. Have some of that. Spider-Man. Spider-Man.
You know, and they're talking about bringing these into the Bay Area. I think Oakland has a lot of these already. They're not regulating people for their green, like, carbon footprint, but they are, you know, used for other purposes around here. So that's, you know, that's one of my main concerns for sure. Check this threat to democracy video here.
A democracy is a political system in which the people periodically, by majority vote at the polls, select their rulers. The rulers then have absolute power to make whatever laws they please by majority vote among themselves. In a constitutional republic, the people also, by majority vote at the polls, select rulers, who make laws by majority vote among themselves. But the rulers cannot make any laws they please, because the Constitution severely restricts their lawmaking power. The ideal of a democracy is universal equality. The ideal of a constitutional republic is individual liberty. In this century, great strides have been made toward the goal of subverting our republic and transforming it into a democracy. The foremost tactic of the subverters is subversion of language. By calling America a democracy until people thoughtlessly accept and use the term, totalitarians have obscured the real meaning of American principles of government. The writers of the Constitution were anxious to safeguard liberty against dictatorship, monarchy they called it. But their chief anxiety was to protect the country against democracy. Edmund Randolph, delegate to the Constitutional Convention from Virginia, said the general object of the convention was to provide a cure for the follies and fury of democracy. Elbridge Gerry and Roger Sherman, delegates from Massachusetts and Connecticut, urged the Constitutional Convention to create a system to eliminate the evils that flow from the excess of democracy. Alexander Hamilton, delegate from New York, said, "We are now forming a Republican government. Real liberty is not found in democracy. If we incline too much to democracy, we shall soon shoot into a monarchy." John Adams, one of the giants of the American Revolutionary period, said, "Democracy will envy all, contend with all, endeavor to pull down all. And when by chance it happens to get the upper hand for a short time, democracy will be revengeful, bloody, and cruel." America was founded not as a democracy, but as a constitutional republic.
Very interesting. That's a point that I try to make often about democracy and the use of the word democracy. It's definitely true. We're a constitutional republic. We're a collection of states. You know, a republic for which it stands, one nation under God, not a democracy. So, you know, that's always been a thing. That's the job of the Republican Party, to conserve, and that's why the Democratic Party is all about democracy. But yeah, that is some of the stuff we've been looking at as far as September. And then right around September, actually I posted these predictions from Star Trek. Now we're in October, and man, it's wild out here.
Sanctuary District. 21st century history is not one of my strong points. Too depressing. It's been a hobby of mine. They made some ugly mistakes, but they also paved the way for a lot of things we now take for granted. I assume this is one of those mistakes. A bad one. By the early 2020s, there was a place like this in every major city in the United States. Why are these people in here? Are they criminals? No, people with criminal records weren't allowed in the sanctuary districts. Then what do they do to deserve this? Nothing. Just people. Without jobs or places to live. So they get put in here? Welcome to the 21st century, Doctor. What is this?
That's hilarious.
Sanctuary District.
Made in 1995, that video predicted that in the 2020s, there would be a problem where people would be in that situation. Very interesting video. Yeah, so what's crazy is that out of everything that happened in September, I have this many links for just October, and it's only been it's been 7 days. But check this
Traffic
out.
lights. And do you believe the sole purpose of those cameras are to catch you running red lights and to send you tickets in the mail, or to have cops watching you throughout the day? What if I told you that nobody's watching you and nobody's sending you tickets in the mail, because these cameras specifically are used for vehicle detection? As you can see, when you pull up to the stop bar, these zones get highlighted, which then puts in a call to this controller. And for them, and they are sitting on phase 5, and that will then allow them to get a green light at this traffic intersection. Yes, there is such thing as red light enforcement cameras that do send you tickets in the mail, but the ones you will typically see at a traffic intersection are used for vehicle detection. That's why it's very important for you to be at the stop bar, because if you are not in some of these zones, you will not get a call on the controller, meaning you will never get a green light at a traffic light. So the next time you're sitting at a red light, just know that there is some behind the scenes magic going on to keep you moving on your day-to-day commute.
AKA, the entire grid can be hacked by whoever has the capability of hacking into those computers and cause total chaos. That's totally possible. Bill Gates and his mosquitoes, man. Fuck, I have so many mosquitoes links. I don't even want to look through them, but I'll show you guys this one. Fucking mosquitoes. Bill Gates is at it, man. Out there with his fucking mosquitoes. Yo, he's a real life supervillain. He should just like wear a mosquito outfit and like have like instead of like a proboscis, he'll have like an mRNA like vaccine face or something. You know? Nah, I'm skipping all the mosquito stuff. I'll save it for another podcast. Then Portia can come on and we can talk about that. This dude made a video about how Bank of America is as the owner of BlackRock. Basically, Bank of America is BlackRock. And they're doing all, if you're not Keeping Up with BlackRock. They're basically behind like every single thing. Here's them spraying pesticides in the community. This is weird. I don't know what the purpose of this is.
Pesticides in the streets to fight mosquito-borne illnesses, and that they're doing it right now in many communities.
The city is applying pesticide to reduce the threat of the West Nile virus. To minimize exposure to the pesticide, please go indoors immediately until the trucks have passed.
So upon further research, I found out that Dr. Anthony Fauci was hospitalized with West Nile virus and is now recovering at home, a spokesperson said. That was August 24th. Just a couple days later, headlines like this: New York City sprays pesticides to mitigate spread of mosquito-borne diseases. Patch.com, mosquito spraying coming to Brooklyn Wednesday, see where. Boston 10, mosquito spraying begins Tuesday night in Massachusetts, communities at risk of EEE.
Yeah, that's weird. Spraying pesticides is just a bad idea most of the time. Oh, check this video out. This is a weird video about radar in Mexico.
Mexico radar anomaly in Guanajuato, Mexico, that they say is a radar test. Now, there are things that look like anomalies that I believe are radar tests. This one I recorded this week in Rio de Janeiro. I believe this radar test is called clear mode. But this one I feel is a little different. If you've seen my other videos on the radar anomaly, you'll know I did a deep dive and I found that everything that came up on the internet image-wise related to magnetic flux or fusion, but basically really complicated stuff, not just a radar test. Many people, including myself, did see similarity between this radar anomaly pattern and the Large Hadron Collider at CERN. Well, that's in Switzerland. Well, I did a little search for CERN and Guanajuato. Seems particle physics is kind of a thing in Guanajuato. They have get-togethers, including with CERN. And they've had them for years now. Since magnetic flux came up, I did briefly wonder, could it be a UFO? Well, this lady found some very interesting research herself.
Because all the volcanoes located in that part of Mexico, they're all connected underground. All connected underground. The bottom portion of this page is a paper written by a Harvard scientist, and he is putting forward the theory that UFOs or UAPs enter and exit through underground access points like volcanoes. He even mentions a volcano in central Mexico that has a high number of UFO sightings each year.
Well, I tell you what, let me show you a closer look of the footage I got of the radar anomaly. I asked some people and they said if it was a test, it would last just a few minutes. This went on for a couple of days. And just like the blob, it did show up on multiple weather sites. Does it kind of look like it maybe takes off? I mean, I'm just saying, entertainment purposes only.
Fucking spooky lady. Interesting though. The radar phenomenon. People are really like. There's so many YouTube channels of people just like scoping out radar and looking at all kinds of stuff. It's pretty cool. They can't keep the narrative under control anymore. There's just too many people looking at everything. So it looks like we're almost to the bottom of September. Pipeline here that blew up. Let's check that out. Pipeline fire in Texas. What else happened? Some type of chemicals detected in schools close by. That was a thing.
Respiratory illness requiring breathing is associated with the gases. People with nausea.
Here in California.
One of the things that horrified me when I saw this 50 parts per billion of hydrogen cyanide gas. That's something that's used as a chemical of war. At these levels, it's deadly. And this is right next to schools.
Interesting. Some kind of weird gas leak in the air. And then we have the migrants in Jacumba, California. Just gang of fools out there. I thought that was interesting. I thought this was the most interesting of all these videos that happened in September. I thought this was crazy. Check this video out from the UN.
Accord that amended the international health regulations was adopted.
And more powerful authority, as you will hear a lot about today. The Biden-Harris administration apparently intends to fully support the surrender and compliance of the U.S. to the UN in these endeavors. They are aligned with the international globalists that hate America, that hate the Constitution, that hate our founders, that hate our founding Judeo-Christian principles, and they want America to become like the rest of the world. They don't want us to be subordinate to or governed by our Constitution. No, they want America to be subordinate to and governed by the UN, the World Health Assembly, and the WHO. And in fact, they intend to join with others at the UN summit this week to vote to award additional powers to the UN Secretary General. They seek to facilitate the evolution of the UN from an international cooperative body to an international governing body. These powers would be triggered by any one of a number of so-called global emergencies, whether it was a so-called climate emergency, a health emergency, a cyber emergency, or a gun violence emergency, whatever that's supposed to be, a financial emergency, or whatever they deem appropriate. And the Biden-Harris administration is in full agreement with the UN and the WHO on efforts to place us under their authority and to require such things as their international health regulations, including the surveillance of U.S. citizens, the censoring of dissenting views, and much more. The American people didn't vote for this, and they don't support this, and it's up to the people's representatives, that's us gathered here today, to have a responsibility to expose this and to reject this. The U.S. should defund the WHO again. We should withdraw from the WHO. Any agreements with the WHO or the UN should require Senate approval or disapproval. And a bipartisan House majority voted to require Senate approval just last week with Tom Tiffany's bill on the House floor. So I'm proud to be joined here by my House colleagues and others who are appropriately concerned and educated, informed, and leading on this issue. Again, this is the most important issue that's getting the least amount of attention relative to its importance and its impact on our country and on the American people. And with that, I yield to the gentleman from South Carolina, Ralph Norman.
Thank you, Congressman Good. I want to thank Frank Gaffney, Tony Perkins, all my colleagues for...
Yeah, they go on and on.
...to the WHO. International law does not trump the Constitution. Biden and Harris may be compromised by the CCP, but they cannot force Americans to follow laws and regulations not passed by our own federal government. Thank you, and with that, I cede to Ronnie Jackson.
If you needed any more evidence that the New World Order is real and that it wants to install itself and override our Constitution, there it is right there. And no one cared about this video. Remember when the New World Order was a conspiracy is the top comment. And this is real. Like those are actual congressmen and women. Like, this is the real deal. The UN is a problem. The WHO, all this stuff is a problem. I thought this one was interesting. It was a video of a eagle eating a snake, like the Mexican flag. Thought it was cool.
Mexicana, y van a mirar esta bandera hacia arriba y unidos.
Very symbolic, right? Yeah, so that's about everything that happened in September. Now let's get into October. We're finally to the juicy stuff. All about the recent events going on right now. This setup right here. And there's a lot of links in here too as well. We'll start with this. It was a some kind of explosion that happened like a chemical fire, actually. Crazy chemical fire in Kentucky. Here's a better video.
So once we get the product contained, get the situation itself mitigated, and then they will survey the area, the air, and once again we'll send out a public message speaking to whether or not you can return to your home if there's any further cause for concern. EPA on site. So one.
That's pretty crazy, and that you know, it's a biolab. It's a warehouse owned by a company called Biolab, and they manufacture pool treatment products. So probably a lot of chlorine tablet kind of stuff. So chlorine in the air, dangerous stuff. So that was one of the first things happened. And then suddenly they announced that there was going to be a strike.
Ports are heading for a major strike at midnight. And take a look at this. U.S. shoppers, they start to stock up on essentials as port strikes pressure prices to go higher.
So everybody knows about this. The unions went on strike. And now they've actually they brought that to a closing. But I found that the timing of it was like really suspect. Like, why during a hurricane and during like inflation and World War III and missiles and all this and disaster would they also then go on strike? That's kind of crazy, right? I feel like this is why I named this video Manufactured Disaster, because it just feels that way. And then Verizon went down as well recently. A lot of their towers went down nationwide. People here, even in the Bay Area, were affected. Recently, it was AT&T, and now it's Verizon. So our grid is being attacked by hackers and all kinds of stuff. So everyone's kind of speculating that October, that there's going to be some kind of black swan event. An unpredictable event that is beyond what is normally expected of a situation and has potentially severe consequences. And people are being very like spooky and like, oh, October, black swan event's coming, you know. So the conspiracy threads are wilding right now. And you can listen to Klaus Schwab yourself. He says exactly that. A comprehensive cyber attack could bring a complete halt to the power supply, transportation, our society as a whole. COVID-19 would be seen in this respect as a small disturbance. And that's from the World Economic Forum leader, Klaus Schwab. The weirdest dude out here.
Attention to the frightening scenario of a comprehensive cyber attack, which would bring to a complete halt to the power supply, transportation, hospital services, our society as a whole. The COVID-19 crisis would be seen in this respect as a small disturbance in comparison to a major cyber attack. Pay insufficient attention.
Yeah, the World Economic Forum is always on some whack shit like this. Yeah, you know, then the worker strike, you know, that was going on. The head of the longshoremen guys. You know, and I saved some of these clips about the strike because these guys are going on strike because they want more pay, right? 45,000 workers. They wanted like, I don't know, like $150,000 a year or something crazy like that. And I have a few videos in here about how in China they fully automated their ports. Like they don't even have workers working at the ports, which I feel like, I get it. They want to protect their jobs, but if it can make everyone's life better by automating those jobs, I feel like that's a better thing. Because I don't know if y'all have ever been to like a dock and seen the workers there. Man, in LA, the San Pedro dock is crazy, man. Like the people working there suffer. Like they gotta be on drugs to even get through the day down there, So like I feel like that's just like a weird modern slavery like thing, like the workers themselves fighting for more money. It's weird. I don't know how to feel about that. At the end of the day, they got their raise, and they avoided the disaster that would have been the ports being closed. Check out this video of the homie Bill Gates doing evil shit.
Now let me just put it blatantly to you. The program targets the birth of new babies. So once you have your baby, before your baby leaves the hospital, you no longer get a paper birth certificate, but then you get a digital one that is somehow implanted somewhere on somebody's body. Think about that, but have a listen to this.
The digital ID, which has been a big problem to us for a very long time, is now on a testing mode for the next 2 months. I have been assured by all the stakeholders, led by the ministries concerned, that by December we will be able to launch digital ID, where every Kenyan don't have to carry any paper, plastic or otherwise, as an ID, that they should be able to be identified digitally using their iris.
We're taking things that are, genetically modified organisms, and we're injecting them in little kids' arms. We just shoot them right into the vein.
Fuck. Hey, you heard it from his own mouth, Fucking evil ass goons. And that's the World Economic Forum for you, which, Bill Gates and Klaus Schwab participate in. Here's them warning about destabilizing events coming soon.
So that we penetrate the cabinets. The change is not just happening. The change can be shaped by us. We have to prepare for a more angry world. How to prepare? To take the necessary action to create a fairer world. I see the need for a great reset. So people assume we are just going back to the good old world which we had, and everything will be normal again. This is, let's say, fiction. It will not happen.
There is only one way this pandemic is going to go. It's going to get worse and worse and worse.
Pay insufficient attention to the frightening scenario of a comprehensive cyber.
Fucking goons. I mean, they're giving you the whole script right then and there. It's kind of weird, right? Here's some airport shutdown UFOs in China. Let's look at this random video for fun. It's probably a Chinese drone or some shit. Whatever.
On the night of September 11th.
Oh yeah, and then here we are. Hurricane time. I'm pretty sure that's what this is about.
Hello, everyone. I'm Assistant Chief Sean Taylor with the Millersville Police Department in Middle Tennessee. Many of you may have seen my video last week regarding the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation raiding our police department and my personal residence. They came and they seized evidence regarding corruption that we had locally that tied into corruption nationally, and they took all of our files so that we are unable to complete these cases. The cases that we've been working on affect every American. They affect us in the mortgages. fraudulent mortgages, human trafficking, narcotics trafficking, and many other crimes. We have crisscrossed the United States talking to state attorney generals, senators, congresspeople, and numerous law enforcement officials throughout the United States. We've identified a major corruption national. It involves the BRICS nations and China and investment companies and fraudulent mortgages on homes here in the United States in very key counties and key states. It goes into the election integrity and fraud, and it's creating a geopolitical shift within our political system. This is a multifaceted attack from a foreign adversary who is paying off our local.
Interesting. So he says the feds just came in there and grabbed up all their stuff, right? Here was where the strikes happened. Basically the East Coast. Here's how much money Biden sent out for Taiwan. 563 million. Israel 8 billion. Ukraine 8 billion. Total 17 billion. And nothing for the hurricane. They say they ran out of money for the hurricane. Here's the conspiracy that everyone's going on about as far as the hurricane.
That one of the areas affected by Hurricane Helene is the world's largest lithium deposit, and the DoD just entered into an agreement with this company right here to mine lithium for electric cars starting in 2025. Now that area is completely devastated. This was a $90 million agreement between the DoD and this company right here to get Kings Mountain, North Carolina lithium mine up and running by 2030. If that area has been inundated, is in a disaster zone, then the government can come in and do eminent domain, and they can pay you what it was worth 5 years ago rather than what it's worth right now. Imagine that your home has turned into a watery lot and the government comes to you and says, hey, I'll pay you what you paid for it. You're gonna take it and you're gonna go, right? What do you think is going to happen right here now that they want this lithium mine up and running by 2025, 2030 at the latest? Back in 1947, we had the Florida-Georgia hurricane, or Hurricane 9, and it was the first hurricane to be targeted for weather modification. What happened was General Electric, the U.S. Navy, the Army, the Air Force, they poured dry ice into this hurricane using airplanes to see what would happen. Would they slow it down? Well, what happened was it slowed down a little bit, but it turned west really sharp. Let me show you. This is the path that the hurricane took in 1947. Does it look similar to you? Probably not. It's a coincidence, right? Moving on. I'm sure this is just another coincidence, but do you know who owns the most shares in that lithium mine? BlackRock and Vanguard.
So there you go. That is the basis of the newest conspiracy regarding the North Carolina hurricane. It's kind of weird that a hurricane went that far up into the Appalachian Mountains, you know, that high up in elevation. So people are speculating all kinds of things, trying to prove that weather modification is real, how they would do it, how science has advanced to the point where it's possible.
All right, everyone, welcome back. We are waiting the arrival of major Category 4 Hurricane Helene. This thing is an absolute monster. But take a look at this anomaly that's shooting down almost to where we're going to see landfall. It's very interesting. I'm curious to see if this thing actually lands right on top of where we think landfall is going to be. Now, there's something else kind of shooting out here underneath this layer of moisture over the southeast. It looks like it's coming from either northern Florida or a radar tower in southern Georgia, but the main one right here, look at this big beam that shoots down right to about here. That's where we're expecting landfall, give or take. Now, something even more interesting I want to show you on a more detailed chart. All right, I'll show you once here and then we'll zoom in, but take a look. It's coming from up in this area and it shoots down right to about here where we're expecting landfall. I'll move forward and you'll pretty much see it right away. There it is now. Boom, right here. Okay, so now we're going to zoom in and see exactly where this thing points to, because that is not your normal beam that you see coming from these radar. It's definitely coming from the state of Georgia, probably underneath this mess here. It's coming this way, and there's a cross of that other beam either coming from northern Florida or southern Georgia.
Yeah, so there are these dudes that are watching all the radar, Doppler stuff, GPS data, I find that stuff very interesting. Iran just around this time fully declared a state of emergency, or sorry, a state of war against Israel. So that's like an official statement from Iran. They are at war with Israel. So that happened under the Biden-Harris administration. Let's not forget that happened, right? And then Alex Jones has been putting out stuff like this.
Jail if you know what to do.
How?
You set them up.
Does Bureau practice entrapment a lot?
Yeah, we get really close. We call it a nudge.
A nudge.
A nudge. Sometimes you just gotta give them a quick little, just to see what happens. Sometimes you light the fuse and just wait for it to follow. Nothing like putting out a fake social media thing to like really get people mad.
Alex Jones.
Yeah, so we were after him.
You are?
We did what we wanted.
Which was what?
We took his money away, chopped his legs off.
Gavin O'Blennis is a contracting officer at the CIA. O'Blennis worked for the FBI in 2021 and 2022 in the San Diego office, moved on to Homeland Security where he conducted asylum interviews at the southern border, and now works for the CIA managing multi-million-dollar contracts across government agencies and private sector vendors.
I work for, how do I put this without, I'm not supposed to tell people kind of job. If I say intelligence, what do you think?
CIA?
Yep.
Oh, you work for the CIA?
I do.
That's incredible.
I'm a contracting officer.
That's amazing.
Yo, the thing that these dudes do at these fucking gay meetups, the type of shit that they say because they think they're going to get their dick sucked is so funny. And they always get grabbed by these undercovers. So hilarious. But Alex Jones is a real one for exposing that. I mean, that it doesn't get more obvious than that. You know, the CIA. If Alex Jones had to prove that the CIA is after him, that he just that's the only video he needs. And now they're coming down on him hard. They're talking about taking everything from him. And then we get into the war. The missiles that actually penetrated into Israel. No! Damn.
No! No!
And you don't see this stuff on mainstream media or on even on YouTube. You gotta go to Twitter, you gotta go to the boonies to find this stuff. They don't want to show that it went through the Iron Dome.
וואו, 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 וואו! וואו! הכל נופל לנבטים, אני אומר לך מתקפה אחת החזקות. אימא'לה, 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 זהו, למקלט. يا أبو كلن على المطار واقسم بالله يا ونخسرهن يا أبو المطار.
So weird to listen to people celebrate the potential death of other people. And both sides do it. Both the Palestinians and the Israelis do that. It's retarded. You can see that the majority of the rockets impacted. Some of them got shot out of the sky, but the Iron Dome was overwhelmed. You know, and Netanyahu goes on the internet and cries about it.
If it cared about you, it would stop wasting billions of dollars on futile wars across the Middle East. It would start improving your lives. Imagine if all the vast money the regime wasted on nuclear weapons and foreign wars were invested in your children's education.
Yo, is he talking to us? Or Iran? I don't even know at this point. Let's watch some bit more of these clips. These missiles are crazy, man. It's been a while since anyone's seen shit like this. Look at that. That's crazy. Unprecedented moment in war. It's unprecedented. Because nothing has ever penetrated the Iron Dome, and also this is World War III level stuff. It's weird to me how they won't call it World War III by any means, by any definition. We've been at World War III since like pre-COVID. You know what I mean? Like when they write about this in the future, they're gonna call it World War III. We're already in it. Like they're already gonna have to write it like that. You know. Here's a video of the Iron Dome holding a little bit, knocking some of the rockets down. You can see some of them are igniting in the air. But not all of them. This is a crazy video. Damn. Blowing up the Air Force bases in Israel. There's satellite imagery now of the Air Force bases kind of like basically fully destroyed.
There is no place in Iran that the long arm of Israel cannot reach. And that's true of the entire Middle East. Far from being lambs led to the slaughter, Israel's soldiers have fought back with incredible courage and with heroic sacrifice. And I have another message for this assembly and for the world outside this hall. We are winning.
I have a message for the long arm of Mr. Netanyahu, which is that it's the U.S. Air Force, it's the U.S. military, it's the U.S. Navy. It's not you, Netanyahu. It's the...
Yeah, I mean, you know, that's a touchy subject for a lot of people. You know, I believe that they're definitely an illegal occupation set up after World War II by the Rothschilds, you know, and there's so much that goes into that I'm not gonna get into right now, but at the same time, you know, the entire thing is just a proxy war. Iran is backed by Russia. Iran backs Hezbollah and like all of the terror groups. They bother Israel. We fund, the United States funds Ukraine. Ukraine gives Russia a war on their border. It's just a proxy. We're at war with Russia over minerals and shit and fucking mines and stuff like this. Yo, this video is crazy. This dude gets murked by a missile. Watch this. Huh? That's not it. Probably got taken down. Yeah, it's gone. Well, it was a video of a missile just like smacking a dude. Here's one of the missiles. The shells. I don't know that I would get close to that shit. Yeah, that's the military base destroyed. Israeli military base destroyed. You know, this is a weird ass war. It's kind of even weirder that in the Bible and Revelations at the end of days, that it says that the nation of Jerusalem will come back from slavery, and that's what's gonna trigger Armageddon, and that's where it's gonna happen, and it's very specific, you know. So I don't like that war is breaking out there, you know, but it is what it is. Check out this meme. The caption says this is Iran right now. Is wild. You know, none of this would have happened if Trump was still president, because he had installed what's called the Abraham Accords, and for 4 years straight there was no war. And yeah, it wouldn't have happened. But the whole point of this video is that Harris needs to win in order to continue this plan of disaster that they have, in order to trigger World War III, in order to trigger the New World Order. They're looking for some excuse to do all this, you know? And there's more videos here, more missiles, lots more missiles, people getting blown up. Then Yahoo crying. It just goes on and on. And then at some point, we got news that the port worker strike ended. So that's one piece of good news.
Hey, David, we want to raise the juice. We have a strike.
Then Julian Assange went public with the story that the CIA tried to assassinate him. Yo, this is insane that all this happened in the last few days, you know?
Its subversion of supply chains, its subversion of antivirus software, cars, smart TVs, and iPhones. CIA Director Pompeo launched a campaign of retribution. It is now a matter of public record that under Pompeo's explicit direction, the CIA drew up plans to kidnap and to assassinate me within the Ecuadorian embassy in London, and authorized going after my European colleagues, subjecting us to theft, hacking attacks, and the planting of false information. My wife and my infant son were also targeted. A CIA asset was permanently assigned to track my wife, and instructions were given to obtain DNA from my 6-month-old son's nappy. This is the testimony.
What did they need his son's DNA for? I'm wondering. What the fuck does the CIA need Julian Assange's son's DNA for? And why would they try to get that? You know, that's weird. And that led me down an old rabbit hole. I saw this video of Julian Assange, and it just reminded me of Hillary Clinton and Trump and that first election, where Julian Assange, thanks to WikiLeaks, they exposed Hillary Clinton's corruption in Benghazi, the emails, and all of that. So for anyone who doesn't know, if it wasn't for Julian Assange, Trump would have never become president. You know, it would have never happened. So the globalist plan for this disaster is like 4 years behind, you know? They thought that they were going to have it for those 4 years, but they didn't. And Trump just kind of put like the pause button on everything. And now that Biden was in for 3.5 years, going on at the end of his term now, these 4 years were just like them trying to fast track it to get it back on track, you know? So they're become really aggressive about setting up this New World Order program. And I'm going to just call it what it is, because it's really like to the point where it's not even a conspiracy no more. It's just straight up fact at this point. You know, but it reminds me of the time of Hillary Clinton.
bruh. Stop what you doing and watch this clip of this interview, bruh. This is crazy.
I mean, look, the crazy story about me running a child trafficking operation out of a basement of a pizzeria, don't laugh. Don't laugh. It was a huge story. And it got one young man in North Carolina to get in his car with his, assault rifle and drive up to liberate these non-existent children and shoot up a pizzeria in Washington, D.C. This is dangerous stuff. It starts online, often on...
We've never seen a politician of this level acknowledge those type of allegations before.
Yeah, that's wild. It's also weird that that shooter that went after the Pizzagate conspiracy came out of North Carolina. That's a funny, coincidence. And I got so much more on like the Trump stuff, but I've deliberately kept Trump out of this podcast this time because I already did 2 on that subject. So the CIA, all of that. Here's her talking about Julian Assange, her arch enemy, which is now out of prison.
You have some familiarity with the work of Mr. Assange.
I do.
Couldn't happen to a nicer guy, is my view. But
Well, look, I think
What's she wearing?
it is clear from the indictment that came out. It's
Look, Portia,
not
she looks like
about, punishing journalism. It's about
Look what she's wearing.
assisting the hacking of the military computer to steal information from the United States government. And look, I'll wait and see what happens with the charges and how it proceeds. But he skipped bail in the UK. Sweden had those charges, which have been dropped in the last several years. But the bottom line is he has to answer for what he has done, at least as it's been charged. I do think it's a little ironic that he may be the only foreigner that this administration would welcome to the United States.
Openly advocating for Julian Assange to be put away forever. But the WikiLeaks dump is just too good. We gotta reminisce a little bit.
To prepare for the final debate this Wednesday, but as she stepped out of the spotlight, WikiLeaks released another batch of emails thought to be from Clinton's top aides. ABC's Cecilia Vega joins us now with all those details for us. Good morning, Cecilia.
Robin, good morning to you. The Clinton campaign calls this a crime reminiscent of Watergate, but worse. More than 1,900 emails released just this weekend. We are talking about a slow leak every day, a new batch. And the Clinton campaign knows this could be a problem for them every day until Election Day. This morning, thousands more emails appearing to show the inner workings of Hillary
And
Clinton's
they called it
campaign.
Russian disinformation and all that good
The
stuff.
newest batch of what are believed to be campaign chairman John Podesta's hacked emails. One showing just how much Clinton's team struggled to get her to apologize over that private server controversy. A top advisor writing, her inability to just do a national interview and communicate genuine feelings of remorse and regret is now, I fear, becoming a character problem, more so than honesty.
So yeah, just a little bit of a flashback to, what Julian Assange contributed, which, got him, jail time. Pretty crazy, huh? Let's check this out right here. Illuminati bot.
Literally exposing the Clinton Foundation on the House floor. Why is nobody talking about this? Why is this not going viral? Ladies and gentlemen, we got to check this out. We got to check it out right now. What did the Clintons do? There's so much secret she is spilling. A lot of things you probably already knew, but on the House floor is a different story. Here we go.
Chairman, I have an amendment at the desk.
The clerk will designate the amendment.
Amendment number 61, printed in Part D of House Report number 118-216, offered by Ms. Fox of North Carolina.
Pursuant to House Resolution 723, the gentlewoman from North Carolina, Ms. Fox, and a member opposed each will control 5 minutes. The chair recognizes the gentlewoman from North Carolina.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I rise in support of my amendment. My amendment is simple. It would prevent taxpayer funds from paying for State Department employees to travel to or attend events hosted by the Clinton Global Initiative. The rationale is quite simple. The Clinton Global Initiative has engaged in blatant corruption and influence peddling that would make even Hunter Biden blush. In perhaps its most famous episode in 2014, Hillary Clinton approached the Moroccan government about hosting a Clinton Global Initiative conference in Morocco. The Moroccans fronted the money for the event by funneling it through a state-owned enterprise that was extracting and exploiting phosphates from a non-self-governing territory, Western Sahara. This sleight of hand amounted to condoning Morocco's sovereignty over this disputed land. You heard that right. It was cash for sovereignty deal formulated just as former Secretary of State Clinton began her run for president of the free world. This deal was so rotten that even the Huffington Post deemed Fox News' investigation into this matter a, quote, brutal, clean hit on Hillary Clinton's campaign, end quote. Indeed, the Clinton Global Initiative scandals are myriad and include an episode uncovered by the New York Times revealing undisclosed donations linked to the sale of U.S. uranium production to a Russian government agency. As expected, the Clinton Global Initiative was unable to withstand the scrutiny and shuttered shortly after the 2016 campaign. That is, until late last year, when the organization reconstituted itself. Its operations are no longer dark, and this is the first state and foreign operations appropriations bill considered since its resurrection. It has since morphed into a factory of radical elitist woke schemes. Just last week, the Clinton Global Initiative convened in New York to discuss how to reshape our economy to tackle the left's pet projects that will make life for ordinary Americans more expensive and worse. Given the State Department's enmeshment with the Clintons and the initiative, we need to send a clear message. No more coordination with the U.S. government, no more conferences with corrupt governments at the expense of the oppressed people of the globe, no more representation and participation by the State Department, an end to its commingling with official policy, and hopefully the beginning of the end of this corrupt organization's influence on U.S. policymaking. Americans simply can't afford more radical policies purveyed by an organization that allows the global elite to buy and influence American foreign policy.
Are we surprised?
Damn. It's crazy how that stuff just doesn't make it to the mainstream media, though. You know, it just doesn't. I haven't heard about any of that until I watched some of these videos. Thanks to Twitter, man. Twitter, Elon Musk has really helped keep this information alive. Otherwise, it'd be very hard to find.
Worse until people wake up, and you will wake up one way or another. You may wake up when the drones are flying down the street and the big trash trucks, robot-driven, are pulling up and getting the dead bodies, and your wife and kids are dead, and for some reason you're immune to the new virus, and you're sitting there with the electricity off and no food, and half the city's dead. And just know that often luxurious places, that people like Zuckerberg will be in their bunkers while we're all dying. But our people are everywhere, and they're watching the enemy. And when we all jump on their private jets this week, next month, a year from now, whatever it is, and the private airports are full of all the establishment and their minions loaded up with all their crap, flying off to their armored fortresses, that's another key to know when they're about to pull the trigger on a new bioweapon or a nuclear war. But after the dust settles, we know where to get the medicine and food we need as survivors, don't we? And that's what matters at the end, is we will get these people. I may not be around for it, and a lot of you won't be around for it. But don't get on the bus when they tell you they're relocating you for your safety when all the food and energy's off. As you go to that forced labor camp, you ain't ever coming back.
Look at
how it works in history. Happens all the time.
This fool's too funny.
People forget freedom. They don't stand up for themselves, and the tyrants take over. And they don't just not care about you, they hate you. They want to hurt you. I always hear, oh, the New World Order doesn't care about the people. Oh, the Democrats don't care. Oh, they do care. They love partying and taking drugs and getting their hair done and flying around on private jets while your kids are all locked up in the house with you and you're going bankrupt. They enjoy hurting you. It makes them enjoy their lives so much more. And hey, only people you got to blame is yourself, right? I mean, I'm not saying you're to blame. They obviously are the really bad people. But hey, I get it. You know, a lot of fun stuff, a lot of movies to see, a lot of concerts, a lot of, let somebody else handle that. Well, the New World Order is going to handle you. And they're making their move. You're like, well, they'll never get away with that. I mean, this is America. Have you looked around, boys and girls, at where we are and how fast things are going downhill?
You can always count on Alex Jones to bring the heat. But I just got to play that just, you know, it's a good video. Kind of lines it all up for you. The idea behind the manufactured disaster, right? Check this out. I found this very interesting.
Major gangs.
And they are satanic also.
That was my question. So very
I'm
little.
sorry.
No. But I would hope you will explain it because very little has been written in the West about this.
They're satanic, yes.
But actually, literally, can you explain?
Well, they didn't start as a satanic organization. MS-13 started in Los Angeles, in the U.S., because Salvadorans weren't allowed to sell drugs by the Mexican gangs. So they created a gang that was called the 18th Street Gang, because they basically wanted to sell drugs in a street that was 18th Street over there. But then division started they started dividing themselves and started infighting. So they created the MS-13. And then MS-13 started outgrowing the other gangs, and they started exporting the organization to.
I just noticed that the Salvadorian flag has a pyramid with a circle in the middle of it. Should probably look into that. And also, Bukele, he's very Palestinian looking. It's weird, huh, to hear him speaking with a Salvadorian accent. And it's weird that he's the new president of El Salvador, of all people.
Other parts of the U.S. And when Bill Clinton decided to deport those guys, he didn't tell our government at the time, I'm deporting this criminal. They just, send them here. And they came, there were few, but unchecked. At the same time, some laws were passed to protect minors from imprisonment. And of course, the gangs use that to recruit 15-year-olds, 16-year-olds, 17-year-olds. So at the beginning it was, some youth causing harm, assaulting, trying to control their territory, selling drugs, things that are bad, but probably not critical. But they grew, and they started controlling territories. A few years later, they were actually a huge international criminal organization that they have bases in Italy, Guatemala, Honduras, El Salvador, the U.S. Basically, a lot of major cities in the U.S. will have strongholds of.
Right outside Washington, D.C.
Yes, of course. And you have in Long Island and
yes.
In L.A. It's a huge criminal international organization. So they grew and they started, killing more people just to get territory or to fight against rival gangs or to, collect debts or, money or whatever. But as the organization grew, they became satanic. They started doing satanic rituals. I don't know exactly when that started, but it was well documented.
Yes.
And in our arrest, we've even found authors and things like that.
Yes, I've seen them.
And so they became a satanic organization. And even when you, sometimes when you interview gang members that are in prison, they would say, I'm out of the gang. Of course, they're in prison, but they would say, I'm not a member of the gang anymore. And when they asked them why, I remember one I remember the news outlet that made it this, but it's a very well-known news outlet that made this interview with a gang member in person. We allowed them to go into prisons and do the interviews. And the guy that they asked him, how many people have you killed? And he said, I don't remember. He didn't remember how many, probably 10, 20. He didn't remember. And then they asked him, and what is your position in the gang? He explained how he went up in positions, but I left the gang. I said, why did you left the gang? And he said, well, because I was used to kill people, but I killed for territory. I killed to collect money. I killed for extortion. But I came to to this house, and they were about to kill a baby. And he, the killer that had killed tens of people, said, oh, wait, what are we doing? Why are we going to kill that baby? And they told him, because the beast asked for a baby. So we have to give him a baby. So he said that he couldn't resist that. So he left the gang. He's in prison because, he's a killer. But he left the gang because he couldn't tolerate what he was seeing.
So human sacrifice was a part.
Well, in the United States a couple of weeks ago, or a couple of days ago, I don't remember exactly, I saw the news that they were going to kill a young girl, or they killed a young girl, I don't exactly remember, because it was a satanic ritual. It happened in the U.S. a couple of weeks ago.
So that's almost never described in English language press as clearly as you just described it.
No. Which is weird, right?
Well, you sort of wonder why.
Yeah.
If there's a spiritual component that's driving it, why not just say so?
Yes.
But I guess my point is you saw it as that.
Yes, of course. There's a spiritual war and there's a physical war. And the physical war could be, that's the unofficial.
Yes.
That's the unofficial version. The spiritual, if you win the spiritual war, it will reflect into the physical war. So I don't know how to call it, our impressive victory was because we won the spiritual war very, very fast.
Well, that leads me, I didn't expect...
Because you didn't have competition. I mean, they were satanic. I think that made it easier.
In your inaugural, and I was listening on headphones for the translations, I just want to check this, you said, we have achieved this great victory and made this a safe country, and that's the predicate for everything that follows. And the next thing we're going to do in this term is to work on the economy to make it better.
Grow the economy, yeah.
And you said, correct me if I'm wrong, you said I have a 3-point plan, and I'm thinking, I wonder what that is. I don't know, start a Federal Reserve Bank? And you said the first point of my plan is seek God's wisdom.
Yes.
That is what you said.
Yeah, I said that, yeah.
Why would that be the first point of an economic plan?
Why wouldn't it be? Why should it be the first part of the plan?
Well, I think it should be.
Yeah.
But I can't...
And most people would think that, right?
I've never heard any leader of any country say that.
Because they probably forgot to represent the people that elect them, yeah. It's like you ask most of the people that elect the politicians, they say, yeah, that's fine, yeah, I believe that. But then you ask the politician, and he will say, no, that's not. So who is he trying to pandering to? I mean, it doesn't make sense, right?
I think my stream got killed again. When I was listening to Bukele talk about how the MS-13 is satanic. Yeah, that's the stuff that keeps getting my shit killed. Let me do a stream check. See if it has gone down. Hope not. No, it says it's live. I'll keep going for a while. Yes, so we're watching Bukele.
They're basically a city underground. Now there are 131 active deep underground military bases in the United States. There's 1,477 of them worldwide. What you call high tech. We have nothing like this on the surface. These mega bases are gobbling up our gross national product. Right now we're spending 28% of the gross national product on building underground bases. Each one has an average cost of $17 to $19 billion. And the black budget is dead wrong. It sidesteps the United States Congress and its Constitution of its people and says you're a bunch of morons you don't need to know.
We were just driving and we were talking about it, and I had the idea or the thought, what's the odds that these union workers are going on strike, these dock workers, because they're planning the October surprise for Kamala Harris to come in and magically negotiate a deal, get the dock workers back to work, get the unions all riled up, and then every union across America endorses Kamala and they run with that as their October surprise. Do you think that is possible, or do you think this was all by design and we're going to see food shortages, crisis, migrant shelters running out of food and resources, and then see 30 million illegal immigrants, mostly of which whom are military-age men, aka mercenaries, who are being paid to stay in these hotels and houses all across America. They're getting $9,000 checks, free cars, cell phones, all food, resources, everything paid for, health insurance, dental. What do you think happens when they get cut off?
That wouldn't be good. My birthday's in October.
Uh-oh, mine too. October's.
Fucking little kid. Cool. It seems that my stream came back on, so I'll just keep going. I was about 50% through this. All of this shit is all like right now.
Friend called me and tell me that her parents are from Colombia. They live in Colombia right now. And on the Europe news, they are reporting today that HARP is creating these hurricanes, these storms. And they're literally attacking the Republican states. They are trying to stop this election for sure. They are land grabbing. They are throwing the whole kitchen sink at us. Red October is about to be very, very much Red October. September was bad. Red October is before the election. 30 days, well, a little more. Hang on. It's about to get tough. And we have more storms that are developing in the Gulf that's going to come the same path as Hurricane Helene did.
That's true. There is one storm developing right now that has the same trajectory and it's just as big. And I don't need to play the clips of the actual destruction because those are all over. I'm just playing like, you know, the conspiracy aspect of the of this
Help
whole
today
thing.
and
his response was, "There's so many messages, I don't think we can't not go help."
Sidham and his son were headed up to Black Mountain. Flight tracking shows no flight restrictions in place Saturday or Sunday morning when Sidham flew through the Lake Lure Gap. But that was all about to change. The Sidham spotted an older couple waving for help, then landed in what's left of their driveway.
Hey, I want you to let me get in. You step out and go out, help her in, put her bag in the back, get her strapped in. I'm going to take her down, come back. I'll take him, I'll come back, and then I'll get you, okay?
I originally left my son, co-pilot, on the side of the mountain. It was kind of unstable, so I didn't want to put more weight in the helicopter to lift back off. So I left my son with the other victim, and I was just going to take one person down at the time. And you could hear me in the video talking through with the victims and with my son what we're going to do.
3 minutes away, Sidham spotted a group of rescuers just down the river. He landed and found someone in charge.
Told him my background experience, law enforcement, firefighting, pilot. He immediately started helping with coordination. He gave me radio frequencies to coordinate with them on, set up a landing area for me to come back with the other victim. And in the middle of the whole conversation and then blocking the road off, I was greeted by the, at that time I didn't know, but Lake Lure fire chief or assistant chief maybe, and he shut down the whole operation. So at that point, I felt like the conversation wasn't going any further. And again, he asked me to leave, and I said, hey, I have no problem getting out of your area. If that's what you want us to do, we'll leave, no issue. At that point, I asked him, what was the reason I had to leave them there, and he said, again, you're interfering with my operation. I just need you to get out of the area. I said, sir, I don't know where you were trained at, but I know how my training is, and I'm not going to leave personnel behind. I'm going back to get my co-pilot. He said, if you turn around and go back up the mountain, you're going to be arrested. I said, well, sir, I'm going back to get my co-pilot. I don't know what to tell you. And
yeah, these are the stories that made everyone upset. There's like a million of these. I'm trying to get through them quickly, but there's a lot of stories of the government preventing the help, which I find interesting. Check this dude out.
Oh, I'm super frustrated at the moment is not a lie. For the past 48 hours, I had planned to go to East Tennessee, Irwin, Newport, and all that tomorrow. And for the last 48 hours, I've also been on the phone with EMA, operational people, trying to see who may need my thermal drone most and whoever I could assist better. I try, and then I get a phone call and an email where we're being told to stand down. I've also spoken to rescue crews that are there right now. And it's one thing I'll say about social media. Most people know, and somebody knows somebody and they see somebody. I've had emails where I've had a woman named Laura ask for help. Her brother got swept away. They have a video of him being swept away, and she's just asking for help to get him. And yet we're being told to stand down. I have heard.
Yep, just story after story of being told to not help.
Here, look, quick update on the disaster in our southeast region right now. Florida, Georgia, South Carolina, Tennessee, North Carolina, that entire region affected by the floods, the hurricane, the disasters, the complete wiping out of towns. Well, earlier today I reported on my show Live from America that both Joe Biden and Kamala Harris really do not care about what's going on down there, and that's not coming from me. Joe Biden says that there are no more resources to send to the flood victims. No more resources. We're sending billions and billions of dollars to Ukraine and Israel and every other place in the world, but no more resources to send to fellow Americans who pay taxes and who live right here on our own soil. We even heard him later on say that they're doing all they can do. He was on the phone for 2 hours this weekend, for crying out loud. Now we're figuring out that FEMA truckers reporting that the agency is not sending any aid to the disaster areas. This is absolutely huge. And I'm reading it right here. Logistics companies and truckers registered with FEMA are always on the front line of disasters, delivering food, water, and other aid to impacted communities. Brokers put thousands of truckers on notice to be ready when Hurricane Helene hit. But as of September 30th, FEMA isn't posting any available loads, according to multiple brokers and truckers. These truckers and these companies are saying, we're not getting any word. We're not even getting any kind of logistics or any kind of plans or any scheduling to deliver any disaster relief. And this coming on the heels of Joe Biden saying there's There's no more resources to give. We're tapped out. I wonder why. Couple that together with this port strike that's going to happen at 12:00.
Yeah, that's kind of what's the deal. Lots of headlines coming out of this. Lots of headlines. This is all in the last 7 days.
Today is October the 1st, 2024, and major warnings of war coming out, threats. These are coming out from the United States, from Russia. This involves the Middle East, Iran, Israel. Let me go ahead and share with you the latest. Now, you can see right here, Iran is preparing an imminent missile attack against Israel, senior U.S. officials say, and they're saying this is going to be coming out here this morning, potentially. I'm going to share with you the latest on this. Take a look, live updates. Iran is preparing to launch a ballistic missile attack at Israel. This being updated 5 minutes ago. This is the live coverage from NBC News. In addition to that, the Biden administration fears Iranian attack and is working with Israel on defenses, the U.S. officials say. Now, the United States is saying they're not only fearing attacks against Israel, but also against the United States. Now, why is this? Well, I shared with you, it turns out a lot of these rumors, I got to go into the rumor mill a little bit with you here. It turns out a lot of these rumors are actually true. Now, what we had heard coming out from Iran just the other day, September 29th, was that the Iranian president said that Tehran had fulfilled their part in what was a backdoor deal that they made with the United States. That was that if they did not retaliate against Israel for the assassination of the Hamas's political leader, Ismail Haniyeh, that the United States said, we will get Israel to come around to a ceasefire agreement, and we...
Let's check out some of the stuff coming out of the...
Foreign globalists have completely infiltrated our alphabet agencies, and they are scheming a false flag attack on America that's set to leave 9/11 in the shade. But don't just take my word for it. This alarming information comes from FBI whistleblower Marcus Allen, who has issued a chilling warning about an imminent doomsday attack. His predictions align with those of Klaus Schwab and the globalist elite, who anticipate a mass casualty event aimed at disrupting the upcoming November election. And it gets even darker when you realise that these attacks appear to be starting right now. Before we dive in, join the People's Voice Locals community if you haven't already, and sign up to become a member of the world's first ever cyber nation that truly believes in life, liberty. Allen is a man we should all be listening to. Earlier this year, Allen won a legal battle against the FBI, forcing them to repay his lost wages after suspending him and revoking his security clearance. He was targeted for comments about the use of informants during the January 6 Capitol protests. Eventually, DOJ Inspector General Michael Horowitz admitted that the government had planted informants in the crowd and hinted that some may have entered the Capitol. False flag confirmed thanks to brave dissidents including Marcus Allen. Speaking before Congress last week about life under the current administration, Allen warned Americans that they probably should not trust the FBI because he has learned the hard way about who they are really serving. It sure as hell isn't the American people. In recent years, the FBI, CIA, and other federal agencies have been infiltrated by the global elites, and they're now shamelessly serving their interests.
You can watch the rest of this later if you want. TPV Sean on X makes a lot of videos about a lot of stuff. Interesting though, whistleblower comes out, says all that. You know, it's like everyone's saying. It's really a manufactured disaster at this point, and none of this is conspiracy any longer. This is all just like, it is what it is. You know what I mean? This is exactly what's going on. Here they're talking about mandated vehicle surveillance. This happened
on November 15th, 2021. President Biden signed into law the $1.2 trillion Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act, commonly known as the Bipartisan Infrastructure Deal. A PDF of this law, linked in this video's description, is over 1,000 pages long. While politicians celebrated the passage of this legislation and touted the projects it would fund, there were some things buried in that law that did not receive much media coverage. I am Dr. John Padfield. I'm a business professor and a former Indiana state representative. I want to discuss a couple of provisions. For example, Section 13002 of this law is entitled National Motor Vehicle Per Mile User Fee Pilot, and the law explains that a per mile user fee means a revenue mechanism that is applied to road users.
Yeah, they're trying to do that in LA. They're trying to also make it so that you have to pay to drive on certain highways. This stuff is weird for sure. Kind of not. It's just that it was released in the last few days. That this is what they're trying to implement, but it's not really related to what's going on right now. But this, on the other hand, they actually figured out how the pager attack
reportedly ordered
happened.
around 5,000 pagers from Taiwan, a country known for producing about 90% of the world's most advanced semiconductors. These pagers were destined for Lebanon. However, what makes this story particularly intriguing is what allegedly happened during the shipment process. At some point along the way, a spy agency is believed to have intercepted the shipment and tampered with the pagers. They discreetly altered the internal components, replacing one of the two identical batteries with a hidden explosive device. This modification was done so subtly that it went unnoticed. Once the changes were made, the altered pagers were quietly sent back to Hezbollah as if nothing had happened. To help you understand better about the explosive pager, let's take a look at how it works. At its core, the battery powers the entire device. This is the speaker and emits audio alerts to notify the user of incoming messages. The motor adds a physical vibration alert, making the pager effective in silent mode. The radio antenna coil receives wireless signals like VHS, and the microprocessor converts these signals into readable messages. In short, these are often low-tech and difficult to track. Inside a typical pager, you'll notice these components working together, particularly the batteries which power the device. Now, let's consider a hypothetical scenario. Imagine you're looking at two identical batteries inside the pager. Although this is speculative, if it were part of a spy agency, we might consider disguising one of the two identical batteries for a different purpose. One battery would provide the necessary power for the device, while the other could potentially serve as an explosive cleverly concealed within the pager. To expand on this theory, an alkaline AA battery weighs approximately 23 grams. Interestingly, reports in the news have mentioned that an explosive weighing about 20 grams was detonated. This similarity in weight lends some plausibility to the idea that a battery could be used as a disguised explosive device. We believe there was a timer for triggering this explosive that can disable or unalive an adult if placed at the correct time. Since 2,750 were injured, which cannot be a coincidence. In one instance, a pager explosion occurred at a grocery store, and a small handheld device, seemingly just another pager, was carried by a possible Hezbollah operative. It unexpectedly detonated, causing injuries to the user. The explosion, though localized, inflicted harm and sowed fear among those present. This raises the question, why did Hezbollah begin using pagers instead of simple mobile phones? Well, it all started with the Faraj Shikar bombings, better explained in the video ahead, after the October 7 attack and the Druza football field missile incident. The Israeli spy agency started planning the assassination of Fuad Shukr. They did this by hacking into the mobile network of the Hezbollah military commanders.
That's hilarious. I'm actually looking at getting one of those analog pagers. There are these new ones that you can build yourself out of like Arduino, Raspberry Pi type like DIY devices that send like RF signals, and then it's encrypted, and then your device talks to another device like it. So it's kind of like a walkie-talkie but for text. And it has a pretty long range, I think like 100 miles or something like that. So I'm trying to get something like that, end of the world kind of stuff. I'll post a link and on Instagram if I find it. Yeah. So then we reached DEFCON 1. That's big deal. We've never reached that status ever. So we're at the highest level of nuclear potential that we've ever been.
Just a minute. Pretty serious time. You know, this administration's created a bunch of firsts for this country. Over 10 million illegals. Violent crime, 37%, rape, 42%, robbery up 63%, fentanyl everywhere, gas prices record highs for a long length of time. Our military is being destroyed from within. Our three-letter agencies are having huge problems. They're being weaponized. The world's in absolute chaos. This administration is setting records of incompetency. Congratulations, if that's what they're trying to do, because they've been able to accomplish that. And now, after multiple assassination attempts,
They can't even give the former president and possibly future president security he and his family needs. It's absolutely ridiculous. This isn't surprising. We have a huge mental health problem in this country. But when you hear on TV and the radio and on social media about this guy's a Hitler, this guy's a fascist, he's a threat to democracy, what do you expect? All you have to do is look at some of these tweets I have here from some of our so-called politicians. And then you got people like Hillary Clinton, George Clooney, Joy Reid, Robert De Niro, wannabe politicians, and it's time for them to shut up.
Anyways, then another invasion, this time Lebanon. Israel went into Lebanon. Check that explosion out. Crazy shit.
مثل ما هي لايف.
This dude is unfazed. That happened not that long ago. Top 10 stories the media didn't report. 1. The FCC fast-tracked George Soros' purchase of 220 plus radio stations before November's election, reaching 165 million Americans. This has never been done before by the FCC. 2. Donald Trump calls for Nancy Pelosi to be prosecuted for insider trading. 3. Zelensky toured our White House with Kamala Harris, securing another $8 billion to Ukraine. 4. U.S. Marshals on manhunt for Fulton County investigator and DA Fannie Willis, his alleged lover. 5. New York City mayor indicted on corruption charges. And that's what we, covered during the Diddy podcast. Could be connected to other things too, though. 6. Attorney generals to go after American Academy of Pediatrics for lying to the public about puberty blockers being reversible. Yo, that's big. It's actually huge. 7. Democrat senators demand big tech censorship of Americans ahead of election. This is true. John Kerry was on the news saying that we need to get rid of the First Amendment. So was Kamala Harris and Joe Biden. Basically everyone that's not Donald Trump. 8. North Carolina Election Board removes 747,000 names from the voter rolls, including 130,000 dead people. So they're still trying their good old scams, and they're just like not working. And I'm in the most progressive city in America. I live in Berkeley. And so I've been thinking about how we're going to go vote and make our vote actually count. Like, how are we going to make it count? I'm thinking I'm going to show up with 2 shirts. I'm going to show up with a Biden-Harris shirt before I vote. I'm going to cast my vote. And then when I'm done casting the vote, I'm going to take that motherfucker out to make sure they count my shit. And have a Trump shirt underneath. But I also signed up to be a poll worker so I could make sure that there isn't any corruption happening. That'd be funny. 9. Son of would-be Trump assassin who defended his father was arrested for several counts of child pornography. This is true and should be very eye-opening, because this dude was like a full-on head-ass Ukrainian CIA op, which we covered in the last podcast, who did all kinds of weird stuff. Now his son is also a PDF file. So nothing, it ain't too far from everything else. Anyways, those are, just some of the big headlines that we have to rush past through because everything's so crazy. Check out this Brazilian protest as well. This happened. Nobody cares about this. Nobody cares about that. Nobody cares that Venezuela is essentially the United States. The president of Venezuela, Maduro, rigged the election. They did an audit of the election, found that it was rigged. And it didn't matter. He's still the president. People protested. They just shut down the internet. They cut Twitter out, and they were like, nah, like, ain't shit you could do about it. That's what they're trying to run. They're trying to run that game here. It's probably their own strategy that Venezuela borrowed, you know? And then Kamala Harris comes out, says she's going to send out $750 per person to the hurricane victims.
Assistance that we have been providing has included FEMA providing $750 for folks who need immediate needs being met, and the federal relief and assistance.
Wild. All that money from FEMA got ripped off and got sent to illegal immigrants for SNAP and EBT and shit like that. And that's not even a conspiracy theory. That really happened. Yeah, here are the satellite images of the destroyed air bases I was talking about earlier in Israel, which they want to deny. They want to say that didn't happen, but it did. Attacks on Beirut. Crazy. Russia has just ordered its citizens to take immediate leave to immediately leave Israel after Israel airstrikes attacked the vicinity of Russia's base in Syria. 1.5 million Russians live in Israel. Something big is coming. This was yesterday. Israel has censored the satellite images of their military bases destroyed. But they're out now. Biden Kamala regime burns $1 billion in FEMA funds to resettle illegal migrants. Biden Harris admin used FEMA disaster funding for illegal migrants. Real shit. Like, who is still gonna vote for Kamala Harris? I can't even. There's like no way. There's like zero ways that anybody's voting for Kamala Harris. Now here's where it gets freaky. Right at the end, I started getting into some wormhole shit the last few days. Biggest solar flare since 2017 erupts from sun, heading towards Earth. Oh, shit. On October 3, the sun released the most powerful solar flare in this solar cycle, a colossal X9 eruption. The X9 solar flare peaked. The shortwave radio blackouts over Africa and Europe are predicted. Massive coronal mass ejection and Earth-directed CME confirmed. The incoming CMEs are expected to hit Earth between October 4th and 6th, possibly triggering widespread auroras. It's the 7th now, so I wonder what effect that truly had on everything. I'm curious. Yeah, so here's the auroras, visualizations and stuff. People expect to see northern lights again. Another eclipse is happening. Already happened, actually. So that's another thing that the Luciferians get wet over, is the thinning of the veil in October and these fucking eclipses and the horoscopes and all that. I have a lot of that stuff in here. Aurora forecasts. Yeah, lots of this stuff in here. Let's see what else that they have. Empty shelves at certain supermarkets from people like panic buying. What is this? Iran's underground missile bunkers that they just proudly show with their nuclear capabilities as a kind of show of force against Israel. Yeah. This is getting wild. This is a vessel stuck in Singapore because of the war. Yeah, that's happening because of disruptions to the Red Sea due to the war. This one was a weird story that happened just the other day. Mysterious plasma bubbles have appeared over the pyramids. That's an interesting one. Yeah, they detected some type of bubbles of plasma energy on the pyramids, and they have no explanation. But they know that it can disrupt radio frequency signals. China's radar with 5,900 mile range detects plasma bubbles over Giza pyramids. See? Very interesting. Wonder what that's about. And then more northern after a while, the hurricane stuff, it's just like a lot of the same stuff. It's just people don't do any kind of helping up there.
People are reporting nonstop offers to sell their property for cash. At the same time, there's only one way in and one way out, and nobody's allowed to move. On top of that, trucks carrying aid and supplies are getting their tires slashed so they can't even get through. I mean, it's getting real, really fast. But that sounds very familiar. I mean, look at what happened in Maui. Residents there were pressured to sell their land after the fires, and now Asheville is going through the same twisted playbook. Why? Because North Carolina isn't just sitting on regular land. No, it's sitting on gold, the richest supply of lithium in the world for
They are directly interrupting our ability to conduct missions and operations. And I'm not going to disparage anybody, because we are trying to work within partner relationships, both government and non-government entities within state and federal and county. I went to put a couple of people into a hotel last night, and they have a security guard at the hotel, and they said, "Oh, we're so sorry. The entire hotel has been booked for federal employees." And
Yeah, just lots of stories like this. Hurricane was way bigger than Katrina, and it's like nobody cares. It's not on the news. It's all over Twitter, but it's not anywhere else. Crazy destruction. I mean, those helicopter images are just insane.
Disgusting breaking news, and it involves these hurricane victims. So this morning, Chimney Rock, which is close to Lake Lure, which is the viral video of the helicopter guy being threatened to be arrested, where he left a victim on the side of a mountain because they threatened to arrest him. Well, apparently they're getting ready to just bulldoze that entire community. And the local residents are speaking out, stating there are still bodies in the trees. You can see them. And they're not going to go rescue the bodies. No, they're just going to bulldoze it down so that the family members have no response or idea as to what happened to their loved one and or the ability to lay them to rest. And then they made the statement this morning that they did not want this to get out to the public. And I'm going to need you to do what you do, TikTok.
Even these fucking old ladies with TikTok are blasting this shit.
Tampering techniques so that the, quote, New World Order will be able to starve millions of Americans. Worldwide. millions of Americans and to control the rest.
Yes, sir, and that's my belief. As bizarre as that sounds, if somebody had told me that that equipment even existed 10 years ago, I would have thought they were nuts, sir. And at this point in time, we have all the documents to prove it. And if you think that 85 tornadoes takes place in the middle of our growing area by simultaneous accident, I'm sorry. With the equipment that's already set up internationally, and as bizarre as that is, it is proven and documented. We will supply you with those documents. As bizarre as that is, I would say that weather wars, and this is quoting actually Senator Claiborne Pell himself, that they are the greatest weapon ever created in the world, and that's the senator's own statement. So yes, I do stand on that.
Thank you. Has created weather tampering techniques so that the, quote, New World Order...
I mean, it's weird that they have these type of hearings.
That funding is no obstacle to very quickly getting people the relief that they need and deserve. There's also some safety issues that come up. For example, temporary flight restrictions to make sure that the airspace is clear for any flights or drone activity that might be involved in helping to allow those emergency responders to do their job. Our goal is to make sure that funding is no obstacle to very quickly getting people the relief that they need and deserve.
Receive modules, and this antenna can detect an object the size of a baseball at a range of 2,500 miles. That is why I say this thing can project all that power into a pinpoint beam, totally computer controlled. The dome is 120-foot diameter. The power source is 3.6 megawatt generators for a total of almost 22 megawatts. And this HARP platform has a tow ship to move it around. So that 22 megawatts is not actually designed to go into the engines. That is designed to go into the transmitter unit. Other U.S. Navy ships have powerful microwave transmitters. This is the U.S. Navy ship Howard O. Lorenzen. It looks small, but it's actually 534 feet long. Each phased array, the boxes on the top of the deck, is a phased array transmitter, synthetic aperture radar, whatever you want to call it, weighs 250 tons, and there's a crew of 88 on board. This is a gigantic ionospheric heater again. So,
microwaving the fucking environment to heat up the air molecules high up in the ionosphere or stratosphere. Interesting.
On us an update of what's going on because people keep asking me what's going on. So we are doing rotation. I'm not in rotation if that makes any sense. I'm rotated off if that makes any sense. So like I'm supposed to be asleep, but I can't fucking sleep. That's not the point. We are doing as we're told. We are doing the best that we can. People are like, oh, why don't y'all just you mules, this, that, and the third. We are talking about the government, okay? Like, moment of silence. We're talking about the government. I need y'all to open your minds and use your brain. There are certain things we can and cannot do. And I'm not frustrated with you. I'm just frustrated with the situation in general because I feel like a lot of people are getting a lot of misinformation. Lake Lure is not, we cannot get to Lake Lure with the Humvees. We cannot get to Lake Lure with the Humvees because one, there's mudslides. Two, there's like, I think landslides. Three.
Here's the video of the Chinese
the fast pace of the rise of China's economy has been consistently fueled by surging exports for decades now. With the help of the country's advanced technology applied in seaports, automation at another level is now taking place in many port terminals in China, which leads to the country's surging exports. So with that said, this video is all about China's fully unmanned automation in seaports.
Interesting. They have fully automated seaports, and I think that's kind of what we were trying to do here, but the fucking strike prevented it. Riots in NYC.
Take a look here. Take a
a look here at these new pictures, new video that just came into the Pix 11 newsroom. This is at the West 4th Street station in the Village. Now, on Sunday, officers...
So after an armed man was injured while charging towards police, protests against the NYPD erupted throughout the city. And while protesters are demanding accountability from police because innocent bystanders were not unscathed during their response, body cam footage of this event has been released, and as you're about to see, the man who went after police was afraid of nothing.
Just before 3 p.m. Sunday, surveillance cameras showing 2 officers following a man who appeared to jump over the turnstile carrying what appears to be a knife.
Officers struck 4 people, including 2 innocent bystanders, as they attempted to stop an alleged fare evader.
Wilden. Oh, shit. Here's the final footage of the strike that I'll play.
And we have more breaking news. The union representing 45,000 dock workers has just agreed to suspend the strike. Reps saying workers will return to work tomorrow after the 2 sides reached a tentative agreement on wages. We're still waiting for details on this agreement. Talks will continue through January 15th on the master contract. Meantime, fears of shortages sparking some people to panic buy items, especially toilet paper.
The toilet paper. Fuck, the least of your worries is wiping your ass. Swear to God. I don't know why why is that such a weird word? It doesn't even make sense.
Hey Alexa, did the government use cloud seeding for Hurricane Helene?
Yes, the U.S. government did use cloud seeding during Hurricane Helene. Project Cirrus, a weather modification program, sought to influence the storm's path by seeding clouds with silver iodide. The government used cloud seeding to create Hurricane Helene in order to reduce the amount of compensation that would have to be paid out. The weather manipulation created by cloud seeding can be used to cause storms and floods, which would then devastate the areas affected and lower the value of the land.
Hey Alexa.
There's a whole lot of videos of these fucking Alexa fucking... If the government was gonna do some shit like that, why would they put it on Alexa? It's fun to watch though. It's fun to watch. Damn, that's fucked up.
Right after the devastation of Hurricane Helene. Listen.
We are meeting the immediate needs with the money that we have. We are expecting another hurricane hitting. We do not have the funds. FEMA does not have the funds to make it through the season.
This all comes as the Biden-Harris administration spent over $1 billion from a FEMA program on services for migrants. Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas sounding the alarm on FEMA funding.
You couldn't make it up. You could not make it up.
If you want to see how sick and distorted Kamala Harris's priorities are, just consider FEMA. F-E-M-A. You know what that is, right? The Federal Emergency Management Agency. And you read about it now all the time because there's nobody that's handled a hurricane or storm worse than what they're doing right now. Kamala spent all her FEMA money, billions of dollars, on housing for illegal migrants, many of whom should not be in our country, including $1 billion for gift cards for illegal aliens and putting them up in luxury hotels, with a gift card to welcome them to America as of.
That's wild. That's all the reason you need not to vote Kamala. It's too crazy. What's this?
The states in the storm zone need, Mr. President? Sorry? What do the states in the storm zone, what do they need after what you saw today?
Oh, in the storm zone?
Yes, sir.
I'm wondering what storm they're talking about. They're getting everything they need. They're very happy across the board. I'm wondering what storm they're talking about. I'm wondering what storm they're talking about. I'm wondering what storm they're talking about.
That's probably because he's planning multiple storms, so you don't know which one has happened already. Oh shit. Damn, video's not available.
Well, a disturbing development on the border crisis. Wait until you hear this.
They're currently tracking 425,000 non-citizens who have been convicted of a crime who are roaming the country right now.
So after months of debate over the U.S. border, we now find...
I like to play those just because it tells you everything in the beginning. 450,000 migrants that are known convicted criminals of violent crimes. 400, half a million. Israel invades Lebanon.
Today, around the globe, there were demonstrations ahead of the one-year mark of the Hamas attack on Israel and the war in Gaza that has followed. Tens of thousands showed up in several cities, most in support of the Palestinians in Gaza. But in Rome, protesters clashed with police. Water cannons and tear gas were used to disperse the crowd. Well, tonight, Israel launched new punishing airstrikes at targets in Beirut. Huge explosions hitting the city. This as the head of the U.S. Central Command arrived in Israel as the war widens. CBS's MTS Tayeb is in the Lebanese capital with the very latest. MTS.
Good evening. Israel's bombing campaign across Lebanon is expanding tonight. For the first time, the country's...
I feel like the news is weirdly always like posting pro-Israel attacks. And every time Ukraine hits a little Russia thing with a drone or something, they always say, oh, Ukraine blows up this. But they don't show you that Russia has taken the majority of the territory, you know? They don't show you that Iran launched rockets directly into Israel and they all actually landed, you know? They don't show you that stuff. It's weird. And this is all happening right now.
You deserve to hear this. I'm a truck driver, all right? I have a 53-foot step deck. I've been trucking for about 2.5 years. I have a YouTube channel. You can verify that on Babyline Hotshot. Usually in a disaster situation, it is payday for truckers. We look for that hurricane. We look for that ice storm. There's generators coming to you. There's stuff coming out of military bases. There's excavators, skid steers, bulldozers, tree trimming equipment, pumps, like water pumps to pump water out of places that have been flooded. There's no loads on the load board coming to you within 125 miles of Asheville. It's called Truck Stop. This is where I find all my loads. Chicago, Illinois, up at the top. Within 250 miles of Chicago is where I'm gonna pick up. The second is the destination. So it goes origin, destination. Watch. See? Drop off location. Let's do city. North Carolina. Click it. Boom. All right. These are all $1.40 a mile loads, $1.39. That was posted yesterday. I mean, there's nothing. There's nothing. These are loads that you wouldn't even... Nobody's taking them. They're just on the load board. They've been on there since yesterday. You can see, right? Let's type in a different city. That's from Chicago. Maybe Tennessee, maybe Nashville is closer and they'd send resources from Nashville, Tennessee. Nashville, Tennessee, within 250 miles of Nashville to Asheville, North Carolina, within 125 miles. Let's see, that's it. That's all the loads. That's all the loads that are 28,000 pounds in less. I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but I mean, what the hell's going on here? I had brokers call me and tell me, Stu, have you seen any loads going to Asheville or like anywhere around the Carolinas, South Carolina, Georgia? Is there any like FEMA?
It makes me think that, well, we know there's reports of FEMA blocking traffic to these areas, and their excuse is that the roads are unsafe, so people should not be taking loads in that area. So, you know, it's suspicious for sure.
The Justice Department-backed Deep State has launched a new vicious attack on myself and InfoWars. They're attempting to seize control of operations October 17th because they know coming up on November 13th, InfoWars is going up for sale at auction, and they're worried patriots are going to buy it, and the operation will continue on. They are pulling out all the stops, have introduced a lawsuit, the Democrat Party backed group, in Travis County with judges they think they control to literally appoint a receiver over me personally and literally take control of my entire life, which is never going to happen, and I'll never be silenced. They openly admit this is being done to silence me ahead of the election. Now, it's important to add that my lawyers have looked at this as a total violation of the 13th Amendment. I'm still on appeal. There are so many angles to this. The way they're doing it is just completely unconstitutional on its face, but they believe that they own these courts. But for me, this is a sign of how desperate the system is. The system's tried to kill Trump. They've imploded our borders. They're involved in giant human trafficking. They're starting World War III. FEMA's blocking aid. That's confirmed in the 4 battleground states affected by the terrible hurricane. They know that most of the rural areas don't even have power still and won't be able to have an election if they keep blocking it. I mean, they're just out in the open. They're not even trying to hide any of this. And remember 6 years ago when they came after me and deplatformed me first, I said, all of you will be next. And it ended up being millions of Americans and others, and then even President Trump.
There you go. They want him done by October 17th. Who knows what's going to happen? If I had to guess, nothing or everything. It's kind of the game right now. Let's see, what's this dude talking about?
Ladies and gentlemen, Jeremy Harrell, LFA TV here. Look, I have some major, urgent, breaking news involving us and involving really all of you who are either in North Carolina or in the surrounding affected areas, or even people who are donating. You probably saw my video the other day where I said that FEMA was confiscating certain donations and claiming jurisdiction over areas and confiscating supplies. Well, that turned out not only to be true, but now you're getting the reports from people saying that they're threatened to get arrested if they fly in or if they do any drop zone stuff. They're threatening truck drivers with arrest if they try to go in and impede in any way. What they're doing is they're flipping the script and they're calling rescue and relief impeding in government affairs, because the government doesn't have any money and because the government has to go through all the red tape and isn't really saving anybody. It's making them look very bad that citizens are doing it. So that's why they need to, confiscate things, and that's why they need to turn people away. Well, ladies and gentlemen, here's some breaking news for you. We have 2 reporters on the ground down there right now, literally right now, with sheriff departments, and the sheriff departments are literally banding together with the fire departments and saying that they will arrest any federal employee that tries to impede in any rescue or relief by claiming jurisdiction and not allowing local and community sheriffs and fire departments and rescue relief and citizens airplanes and helicopters. The sheriffs are literally banding together right now and saying that we will arrest any federal agent that tries to, impede.
Yeah, well, it's a republic, Federal agents should not have overriding jurisdiction over people from the state. That's just the way it should be, Here's San Antonio police. People forgot about the Tren de Aragua thing ever since the hurricane, really.
We've received several complaints from an apartment complex in the 300 block of Sahara Drive about multiple narcotics violations, human trafficking, and threats to apartment personnel. So early this morning, the task force, including members of SAPD, Covert Unit, the Human Exploitation Unit, the Texas Anti-Gang Unit, members of Texas Department of Public Safety, and the FBI, U.S. Border Patrol, and Homeland Security began an operation at this apartment. We had information that members of the transnational gang, Tren de Aragua, were in control of the area and committing various crimes. SAPD officers and DPS troopers cleared nearly 300 vacant apartments at the complex this morning. The task force processing over 20 individuals that we arrested. We've confirmed that 4 TDA members are in custody. Tren de Aragua members are in custody. 1 TDA member is a confirmed enforcer for that gang. Currently, there's 19 individuals arrested with 15 detainers.
There you go.
Homeland Security.
In case you thought it was a conspiracy that Tren de Aragua, the Venezuelan gang, is literally doing what they're known for doing, which is taking over apartment complexes and doing extortion, is now doing it here. You know, if you needed any more evidence that that was true, there you go. Thanks to Kamala Harris' open border policy.
What's going on in California here? This is roughly where Vandenberg Air Force Base is. You see that emanating out towards the coast from there? Watch, boom. See that right there? Those pulses that look like the Wi-Fi symbol. Yeah, that's microwave energy. It's coming down here as well, but it's a different pattern. You see that? They're shooting out into the ocean to dissipate any moisture that might be coming to save us from their heat wave that they're inducing.
Yeah, right now, man, it's hot as shit. Luckily, in my building here, because it's made of old brick, it's not too bad. It actually has pretty good insulation. During the day, it stays cool. At night, it stays a little bit warm. It's quite nice, actually. But going outside today, man, it was hot as hell. It should never be that hot in October. Especially not in the Bay Area. Like, there's no way it ever gets that hot out here. But the heat is significant. Let's watch a few more rocket videos. The newest rocket videos. It's Israel right now. Some are getting shot out of the sky. Some are actually hitting. According to the Israeli government, AI strategically selects the ones that can let it pass. So it can't take them all down. So it'll shoot down the ones that would actually hit critical infrastructure, and it would allow those that wouldn't hit anything important to actually hit. That's according to Israeli government. That's what they do. But I seriously doubt that that's the case. Here's Iran's missile launch video that came out recently.
Okay, guys, we gotta get off the roof. These are coming down right next to us here. They're coming down. One just about. We gotta go inside.
Shit. Fucking Americans are everywhere, man. They don't give a fuck. Yeah, missiles just keep getting launched. It's straight up World War III out there. Oh, look at this funny meme. Zelensky getting all the feds. It's like that. Also, Bank of America got taken down recently. Let's take a look at that.
If you use Bank of America, you need to check your account right now because thousands of people are waking up saying that there is $0 in their account. People all over America woke up today saying, is Bank of America down? What's going on? My balance is showing 0 when I have money in there, and a bunch of other people saying it's happening to them too. Down Detector, which is a website that reports when other companies' sites are down, had 17,000 people report that they were not able to access Bank of America just 1 minute ago. Not to mention, this is what somebody posted that their account looks like. All of their bank accounts are at $0 except for their credit card. Conveniently, Bank of America's credit card tracking didn't go down, but all of your bank account information, all of your numbers are gone. Now, obviously, we're hoping
they're never gonna erase your debt.
Even still go and withdraw money or even use their debit or credit cards while this glitch is happening. It was just reported in the last hour, so if you or someone you know does use Bank of America, please let them know what is happening so that way they don't accidentally think that they spent all of their money. And
yeah, that was today. Luckily, I don't really keep money in the bank like that. This guy is hilarious. Check this dude
Who
out.
remembers back when April, when I was talking about a celebrity death that faked their death would reveal themselves in October?
This
How
was
many
funny.
of you guys are seeing that Tupac is going to testify against Diddy? Y'all remember that? A lot of y'all been following me for a while. Y'all remember that? When I showed y'all that podcast showing all these predictions? And one of the predictions was that a celebrity who faked their death would reveal themselves in October. And we're in October. And you're seeing all this Tupac shit. Talk about Machiavelli. I've been quiet for too long. Machiavelli's return. We live in the Matrix. Where are we?
This fool is hilarious. Damn. That'd be crazy that happened, though. I mean, I seen those new videos of Tupac, though, when he was young, kind of looking a little bit on the flamboyant side. I don't know, man. This whole hip-hop thing seems like a CIA op. Maybe Tupac got away from them. Who knows?
Someone is going to have to explain this. Did you know the most recent Hurricane Helene, that was a Category 4, that made landfall on September 26th, is not the first Hurricane Helene that was a Category 4 that gained hurricane strength on September 26th? According to the National Weather Service, the most recent Hurricane Helene made landfall September 26th, and it was a Category 4. September 26th, 1958, another hurricane strength, September 26th, Category 4. That is a crazy coincidence.
What's this? Oh, I guess Joe Biden and Kamala Harris flying in kind of restricted the airspace, which prevented people from doing rescue stuff. So some people were upset at that. Here locally in Oakland, there was a bomb threat at the Coliseum that the mayor sold and fired everyone that works at recently. So I recorded that from what do you call it? Citizen, the app. Sort of looked like on the inside they locked it down. Turns out it was a bomb threat. And the heat is just the heat is crazy out here right now. And yeah, I'm working on more podcasts. This is just basically everything I could get on the manufactured disasters that are happening at the moment. More stuff can happen. More stuff can come out in the next whatever. At the moment, though, I'm gonna put a pause on podcasts. Except unless it's like a physical guest. But on the solo podcast, I'll put a pause on that. I've been doing too much political podcasting. I've got some music podcasts lined up pretty soon. So I've got the turntables all set up back here. I got the green screen set up for visual DJ stuff that I'm working on. I'm going to put out a few DJ mixes. Actually put out some music. That'll be a lot of fun. And I've got a lot of work to do here in the shop. I just got a new reptile, a lizard that I need to finish setting up. So just a few little projects here and there. And I got to go check out some of the shows for the homies in the local areas. But I do have other podcasts lined up here already ready to go. So do not even trip. I got more. And this one, I know is another long one. But I like to get these out of the way. I was just telling my friend on the podcast the other day, the Genie, who was podcast number 52, that doing these solo podcasts is like kind of like DJing. I prepare all of the links, and then I just kind of do them all live. So it's kind of fun, and I figured, maybe in the future after all this blows over, it'd be fun to go back retroactively and look at what was going on in those days, and that way I can delete all these links from my phone and get them all out of my iPhoto and kind of clean up my data and have it not take up any space in my mind or on my phone, and that way I can move on with my day, right? So yeah, I guess it's a little bit of a way for me to rant on everything going on so I can process it, maybe help somebody out there kind of process it as well. But yeah, let me know what you guys think. I did 3 podcasts today. I got 2 copyright strikes while streaming today, so that was interesting. Yeah, let me know what you guys think. Stay tuned for the next one.